and welcome to TheDimStream. Today is Thursday, December 8th, 2022, and I'm Beverly, and this is Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. We both had quite the days.
Yeah, I know. I have very, very little sleep. So.
Yeah, I had that yesterday and today. Today, I texted Alex earlier too, saying that like I might be late because I put the ducks in the bathtub, and then this is the second time it's happened. It happened once before in the summer, but when they were outside, but DVD went into shock. He's the one duck who can't walk, and so I went back into the bathroom because they were in there, and I thought they had been like too quiet, and I go in and I see him kind of like floating. He had like he's just not moving, and then MTM, she saw me, and then she like flew out of there and landed onto the floor though. So she splashed and I saw he wasn't moving. So I picked him up and I had to like wrap him in towels, and I sat by a heater, and so it was because he was just like shivering and like his eyes are wide and he's not doing any other any kind of other responsiveness. So I thought like before I put him in, I was like, I didn't add hot water. It was just the same tub water from yesterday. And I was like, oh, it's fine. Like it's not like super cold and like outside in the summer before when it happened, it was like super cold because it was early in the morning when I put them in. So I thought this would be okay. But now I know I have to just like warm it up every time I think though. And I think that will help him. So I feel so bad that I was just like, no, it's probably okay. A weak little boy. So so I just sat there for like the last hour with him. Like, and he perked back. I was slowly like perking back up, and then he was trying to stand. So we were hanging out for a little bit with that. But that's why I was just like, yeah, I think you're doing okay. I can go sleep now. Like we're good. So they're back in the tote. And hopefully MTM isn't standing on him because she just keeps doing that. And she acts as if she has no idea. Like she's just I know she's blind in one eye, but it's just the one eye.
She's not completely blind.
Yeah. And then he's under there. Sometimes he like cries out, and other times he just like lives with it. And like, this is my life now. And I just like, I don't understand their dynamic. But anyway, Alex has her own YouTube channel.
Yeah. I put out technically two videos were up today.
I saw one. Yeah.
One is the Deaths compilation volume 2 for 2022. So that's like mid-March to mid-June. No, mid-March to mid-June. Yeah, those are the dates. And then and that one's available for everyone to watch. But the other one is my FNAF highlights reel, which is for members only. And I think your friend Paul and you, Beverly, and
yeah, I became a member again thanks to Winky.
Yeah, and I think Chris are all members.
Supposed to be Christ, but I like Chris. Chris.
Yeah, Winky Woo watched both videos today. So
Winky, yeah. Like he's on top of it. All right.
Yeah, he was.
Except for that he's like insulting me before the stream on Rumble. I saw this stream has not even started and I smell duck poop. Well, Winky, not poop, but I definitely smell like duck after holding DVD for an hour. And
you writing DVD, I'm like, what does this have to do with DVDs? And then you go on about how he's in shock. And I was like, you're talking about the duck. Your friend Paul, I hate FNAF. I played it one time last year, and I finally got to my highlights reel for it. And so it's a 20-minute video of me reacting to the jump scares, and the problem is that like I'm not like I apparently was reacting quietly, but very violently at the same time, like in my chair, like literally jumping away from the screen because it scared the shit out of me so often. And I remember like and watching myself, I'm like, yeah, that was like a harrowing experience for partially because of my anxiety. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I yeeted out of playing any more of them after I died the first time in the second game. because there's 6 or 7 of those games now. But like when I played it, I had access for 1 through 5, I think. And I had all 5 like installed, and I was like, "Oh, I'll check them all out." And I was
Yeah,
like,
like,
I
I have so many games that I've installed that I will never play, like board games and video games. And I'm like, I've had them for years and I have not played. And I really, and books, there are just so many. I need to stop like getting more of any of those things and like just play the things that you have. And
Yeah, try them out.
It's a lot easier. Like there's more time to just buy things than it is to actually like play or read or watch any but you can just go to, or oh no, Winky, I wasn't. I was trying not to ignore Alex. I was just about to respond to your Rumble. It says, "Are any of your animals healthy?" Probably not. I would say Plop. I would say the baby. He has to be super healthy. He's enormous. Like he is just so big
The
compared.
video of him at the beginning, he's so big
And that one's not even him grown up. Like that one, he's still.
Yeah.
I need to update. I need to just do a compilation of just like from day
Him
one, like
growing.
and just see how like, because I do want to do a side by side of day one to like now. And he kept getting like these like weird white freckles, like feathers growing in, but it just looked like freckles on his head. And he was just like, "You look ugly." Like you look like a teenager with a bunch of acne on your face though, because it was just splotchy. Splotchy, but now it's growing in a little bit more solid, so it looks better. But he just like, you look like a gawky like 13-year-old teenager.
That's hilarious.
Hi Johnny boy. And Winky, I was going to post so you're not alone over in Rumble. Here's the Rumble link where you can do the Rumble rant, the super chat version on Rumble. But the Rumble rants are just called Rumble rants whether you pay for them or not. They didn't have a special name for it.
A special name for when you pay for it.
Yeah.
Make it all colored.
Yeah.
The thing is though, is that I did want to be clear that the FNAF video is not available unless you're a member, but it will be available next Thursday for everyone.
Okay, so you just give like an early release.
Yeah, I do an early release. Which, by the way, these member onlys and with early release thing, they're on Utreon too. Not that anyone's a subscriber on Utreon yet. Yeah. Thanks, Missy, for knocking out the monitor for a moment.
Nice. She was so loud beforehand.
She was. She just did it again. The monitor just blinked out again. Thanks. Now she's quietly disrupting everything.
Well, better to disrupt quietly, I suppose.
Although she's blacked out the monitor before while I'm playing a video game. It's not a big deal when I'm like talking to someone, but when I'm playing a video game, it's a pretty big deal.
Man, that's obnoxious, Missy. She's totally doing it on purpose.
Yes.
Well, now another video that I'm never going to edit is going to be the ones when I want to change the intro and just do a plop as he grows up. Now it's in my head. Oh, and I have a subscribe, so let me post that. And thank you for those who have. I got up to the auto pay thing now too, so that was, thank you guys, I appreciate that, because you needed like a minimum amount before it's like, oh, they have to press pay manually every month until you get like a set number. Like, okay. Jeez. I'm not going to ask them to do that though, like each time. So once I had enough, I'm like, and I reached out like, hey, can you guys, if you still want to do this, can you pay again this month? And then it's going to be automatic for forever. So, but yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah, that is annoying. You do have a
Winky. Yeah. How do I wink this wank, huh? Can I zoom? Sorta. Whoa. It won't let me zoom to the side though. Still. Winky, buy some duck medicine. I do. I have like a big bottle of what's it called? Minoxidil or something. There are a couple of names. I forget which one is like the brand versus the Meloxicam, I think is a brand name. But whatever it is, it's this big thing for pain reliever and anti-inflammatory. And I had like little bottles from the vets, and then I could get on Chewy.com for like a big bottle. You just needed to get a prescription, and like the vet sent it. But that was when I was asking too, because my cat has like swollen eye, the chronic thing. And then she was like, the vet, or at least the vet assistants or whatever, that were like, oh no, like this isn't for cats. They're like, yeah, It is. I mean, like I've seen online that they do like it's for dogs, like they've had that before, but they do have it for cats too. Like not just that they do it on the side, but which is also a thing. Like they have medicines that they use for like off label, but they do have it used for cats. And so I'm like, I'm not sure why they were saying like, no, this can't be used. Especially dogs and cats are like similar enough that I don't think that like that'd be unless there's anything then that's like an allergen of some part.
Yeah,
I'm
like
sure.
a intolerance or like
Yeah.
specific things can be toxic to specific species. For example,
Mhm.
like cats can't have like garlic or onion or shallots.
Mhm.
Um, and then but dogs can without it like affecting their kidneys, which is what is hitting for cats. And it's like I find that so weird. It's like there's very when it comes to mammals, there's and chemical compounds, which is what medicine is, there's not actually a lot of variance going on there. Like we're animals, like this idea
Yeah.
that like there's some additives that yes you have to be worried about for cross species or whatever, but like cats and dogs take Benadryl, we take
Mhm.
Benadryl, it's the same fucking chemical, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm worried about all medicines, even ones that are for the animal, because 'cause I'm like, well, each one is individual too. Like, I don't know. So I worry about like how will they be affected for anything that I give them though. So like that is a concern. But I'm also willing to try like I could do a small amount and see like if they're already in pain and like this is something like here's what it's for is to like relieve the swelling and pain. So I thought like, oh, I might try. So instead she's just like is suffering when it
Yeah.
happens, but because and the last time when I went there, the vet was like, "Oh, it could be a spider bite." I'm like and I said, "This is chronic." Like, she's not continuously sometimes getting a spider bite right in the same eye, so
Yeah, that doesn't make
so
any sense.
I get frustrated with vets generally a lot too, though, because they usually end up not helping and a lot of I mean, yeah, the lesser emergency kinda cases at least where it's just like Western medicine, they just treat symptoms. They're like, "Oh, we don't know for sure what this is, so we'll treat this thing." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, get science on the like, get some technology where you just scan our bodies so I don't have to tell you what I think is going on with my body because I have no idea." I
Well, I mean, there should be there like they found that doctors plus symptom diagnostic like algorithms, the two of them together are better than the two of them apart. So like
Mhm.
you give a doctor and you give a like WebMD symptom checker, like your symptoms. Like, and your doctor might be able to get some new information from like a blood test or something like that. But the two of them together are the best
Yeah.
because the doctor can go, oh, this thing that it presented me doesn't make any sense because this always occurs, or well, like whatever. But like it can give doctors options they won't necessarily consider. Which is usually the problem with misdiagnosis from
Mhm.
doctors in the first place.
Well, that's
But
why
then,
I
yeah, like
okay.
when it comes to medicines, you definitely should be paying attention to what you put in your body.
Yeah, and then I try to be now that, like, I'll make notes and things too. I'm like, "Oh, if I wanna check up for something specifically," and because I forget, like, I won't, like, remember what happened. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this pain or this whatever, though," so I need to write it all down, and now I try to be overly informative on, like, here's everything, like, here are, like, the dates that I kept track, like, whether they will like, most of the time, I'm just like, "Oh, yeah," like, and I don't think they're super paying attention, but I'm like, "I wanna like, this is what's going on, though, like, tell me what's wrong
Well,
with me."
a good doctor will tell you definitely that you should be tracking things,
Yeah.
and they'll a good doctor will also pay attention to that because it's like there's the thing like I have this food intolerance issue, right? Well, the number one response to that to like reacting to food is track what you eat and your symptoms.
Mhm.
And like and do that for weeks.
I it's
Eliminate things and figure out what's making the problem happen. Here are some possibilities that like we know exist, but who knows? You might have an intolerance we've not heard of.
That's what the frustrating thing and the thing I like more, like the gyno, the last couple gynos, there was the one who was like super trying to like, you should get the COVID shot and stuff too. And so I was like, and she sounded really well informed on things though, like very knowledgeable and like in all the things she was explaining, like before talking about that, and even what she was saying on it, like she at least talked as if she knew all these things. And I was just like, I don't. It was Omicron she was really worried about, but then the other one that I went to, because I wanted a second opinion and stuff, then she was just kind of, and I asked her about like, could it have been like when my boyfriend got COVID and then I got cramps a couple of days? I'm like, could that, or I actually just said he got really sick. The second time I was worried about like her doing it too. So I was just like, he was really sick. Can that have affected, like if I got cramping, could that do it? And she's like, could be, like it might have been. So her thing was, she didn't know for sure, but like I also think that's an accurate thing to say, is like you don't know for sure, but at least you're open to like saying like, yeah, this could have been a thing. We don't know though. So I hate that they don't know. Like they want you to figure out why this is happening, but at least you're willing to like be open-minded and like say like, hey, because we can't say for sure, like that is just kind of like, yeah, it could be a number of things.
Yeah,
So
I don't. Yeah, like anyone who is absolutely certain in things, like without actual data, beyond these are the symptoms. I'm sort of like,
yeah, and that's what the first one was. She's just like, could it have been the coof that had caused like any problem changes with stuff? And she's like, no, like that wouldn't have done it. That wouldn't have affected it. Like, what? This is about like the menstrual cycle that can be affected by like so many things. So,
yeah, like
it was
tons of
just so
things.
weird. Hi,
Like
George.
you can't. That's the thing that I hate, is this idea that some doctors have that these symptoms are separate from each other, and be like that your systems are all separate. Like here's a piece of information that is happy information, but women's hormonal cycles affects their digestive tracts. So if you
Mhm.
have like a problem like I do, you might end up having symptoms when you're not violating your diet, and because of hormonal swing. And so to me, this whole idea that, oh no, things are not, they're like the parts of your body are isolated and don't affect each other. It's like that's not how it works. It's all one
Yeah.
contained system that feeds back into each other.
Which is why I loved interviewing that one nurse about when they had the triple demic, and I had to do a story on it, but she like focused, she was in a pediatrician kind of thing, and she focused on the RSV. And she specifically said, because I was like, what can people do to stay healthy and stuff, like exercise, wash hands, eat healthy? And she's like, yep, exactly that. She never said anything about shots. And she said how like people think that they're separate, like immune system and other health, like the other parts of the body like are separate, but they're all integrated though, like that. So it does, I feel like all these things affect one another. So it's important. And I don't understand why people think it doesn't. Like, why would they not? Like, you're all in one body and they're all affected, like the
Medical
brain.
professionals act like that,
I
and that's
don't
the
understand.
I know. Like one of the biggest disconnects in medical professions on that regard is behavior versus the brain. That's the hugest disconnect, because it's like, well, where the hell would it come from? Behavior, like it comes out of the ether. What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
like to me, that's the weirdest one. But yeah,
Like,
like
oh, just your body's acting strange for no
yeah,
reason.
we don't get it. Like, and then like hormones is huge. Hormones affects every part of your body. There's not a
Mm-hmm.
part of your body that isn't affected by your endocrinology. That includes your brain. So like
Yeah.
anyone who knows that PMS exists should know that. Like
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Stevie J. To backtrack a little bit on who was it? Like Winky was saying, cats love pasta. One of his cats eats butter. Yeah, my cat eats everything. Corey will eat like lettuce and stuff off of my sandwich. Like he's so weird. I'm pretty sure he has eaten onion and stuff too, because he'll steal it. He'll steal it from the sandwich. Um, amusing Alex factoid: she buys sweaters and cuts the shoulder sections out. As Alex just wearing a scarf, it looks fun. Oh, you think their shirt is just a scarf?
It's not.
I can see that. And I'm wearing because it's Christmas. It's just a December
Oh.
time. We do that. Got Merry Christmas
But
hoodie
this has
on.
a collar and
I
everything.
do see the collar. And I was wondering how
Yeah.
fancy your scarf would be to have the collar.
Collar, yeah.
Oh, Mr. Trimmer also
No.
said you can use human hay fever eye drops for dogs. Lots of human stuff can be used for dogs. Yeah, and I think other animals too. Like a lot of stuff they do. I mean, and you can use some horse stuff for humans.
Like you just have to look it up, honestly.
Yeah,
You
and
you have to look up
ingredients.
the active ingredient and the inactive ingredient
Mhm.
to the species
And
you are
dosage is
going.
important. So
And
then,
yes.
and that's the
And
thing with.
then
Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that those are the most important bits, that you need to know.
We do that with I'm on backyardchickens.com. I think that is the forum. And but then like asking for all kinds of stuff for like chickens, geese, ducks, like, oh, and they'll give like, hey, here's like either animal stuff or sometimes it might be human kind of things too. Like you just use this amount of and they have specifics for like chickens or whatever size animal that you have. Like here's dosages or here's what you might need. So a lot of it it's just kind of dependent on the animal and like but you and they're careful with it too though, so like they definitely use like human stuff when necessary.
Yeah. I mean,
So
like you got to be careful. You have to be sure. Like I here's the thing. If I'm going to take a drug, I look up everything about it, including what things it might interact with that I take, even non medications. Like because that's the thing is that doctors don't even like necessarily think of those things when they prescribe you medications. The same is true for vets. They don't necessarily think of that. You think they would, that it would be important to know drug interactions, but they don't actually
uh-huh.
even ask. I've known so many doctors who haven't told women that uh, antibiotics prevent hormonal birth control from working.
Yes, yeah.
Like that's so common. They're like, well, obviously it does. So
And I just don't
eh,
think because that like yeah not everyone I mean yeah not everyone will pay attention to that like or yeah or read
yeah, and
the
it's like you're the expert. I expected you to tell people
Mhm.
that. Like they don't know that. And I mean, honestly, the majority of people don't pay attention to these things, and you would think doctors and vets would think of that, but they just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Okay, well, we should get into I know you're exhausted, and I mean, I love talking about all the random, different
Yeah.
things too, a
We should
lot,
talk
but
about the root.
we next time we'll just choose 2 movies so we don't have to do, too much, so let's cram in Krampus, Black Christmas, and Violent Night is what we're gonna be talking about. Oh, to respond to this, that doesn't surprise me that a 4-hour stream of that happened, without getting into details
Which
on and
she
drama stuff. Huh?
which she didn't knew Carter.
No. Yeah, everyone knows Carter, but I'll just say those 2 are pretty much the same person. So I'll just let them hash out whatever stuff
Mm.
they go. Yes, Winky. Um, is, uh, yeah, yep, that's true. They have beef with each other and beef with everyone. Beef all around, really. With those
Yeah.
2, they have beef with everybody. So yeah, let's
They're
see if
like
Paul
a
the
slaughterhouse.
Simbrons have issues. Yep, Paul
Yeah,
nailed
they're
it.
basically a slaughterhouse.
I love the fact that medications for depression can make you depressed. And seriously, yeah. And I don't think, yeah, like when you see it on TV and they have a list all the things, and one of the effects of depression is could cause more depression or suicidal thought. I'm like,
Well,
okay,
the United States is one of the only countries that allows prescription drugs to be advertised on TV. And the thing is about it is that it does not increase sales for prescription drugs at all.
having the
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 ads
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
does
I mean,
not.
the only thing is that maybe it would help where, like, doctors aren't going to think of it themselves, though, that maybe getting patients to suggest it, like, that I can understand that, but that's gonna be very minimal to it,
Yeah.
but,
Mostly it's hypochondriacs to suggest it to their
yeah,
doctors.
yeah, beef flaps. Beef okay, what are we doing? What did I put on? Violent Night. Violent Night.
Yeah.
I thought was gonna be more of like a horror comedy. I thought like horror was part of it, but it was definitely just like an action comedy.
It
So,
was action.
which I'm totally fine with. It kind of affects like this is a horror week Christmas, but the other two were so like whatever.
It
But
was like Die Hard meets, or The Ref meets like the Santa Claus,
yeah.
essentially.
Wait, what's the ref? I was thinking Die Hard. Oh, what was the other one?
The Ref is this really funny movie where Kevin Spacey, and I can't remember the actress's
Shut
name,
up, Mo.
they're married and they're having like marital problems and they're going to a counselor. That's how it starts, but they're really fucking like not working out their problems. They're
Oh,
essentially going to
okay.
get a divorce. And
1994 film by
and
Tim Burton.
a thief like kidnaps them,
Hmm.
and he's trying to get out of town, and it's Christmas and their family is coming, and their family are fucking horrible people, and like he ends up actually saving their marriage
Nice.
by forcing them to be honest with each other. Yeah, it's Dennis Leary. It's a really good movie. It's very funny. It's definitely worth watching. So that's what it reminded me of, because of the fact that it's like this horrible family who are not saying the things that need to be said, and it's making their relationships suffer, and some of their relationships are not worth saving, which was the truth in The Ref as well. And like action goes down essentially, and it forces them to have like moments of realism, moments of truth between each other, and improves the situation.
What was it you're
So,
saying? Some relationships aren't worth saving because or they don't. So I missed the
so,
context of that.
so some of their and this is not necessarily by relationships. I don't mean romantic relationships.
Yeah,
I mean
just
interpersonal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like some of them, the other person is so toxic and horrible
It's just
that
better to yeah. Sometimes you
it's
need to cut
yeah.
contact. Yeah.
That, and
Mhm.
it's affecting your other relationships in negative
Mhm.
ways. The same was true. It was weird because like the mom in this one, played by in Violent Night, played by Beverly D'Angelo, is not really that great of a person. Like she's and she,
Oh,
yeah, and her relationship is affecting the husband and wife's relationship, which the husband is her son. And it's
yeah.
very similar to what happens in The Ref, where the mom in that movie, who's Kevin Spacey's mom, is an absolute bitch and is making their marriage harder. And it's hurting it. And it's almost for the same reason. It has to do with money. And I was like, wow, did they crib from The Ref?
It sounds like it, though I haven't seen but yeah, that sounds pretty much because I was thinking, like, Die Hard as a general, like, oh, he has to go in and, like, sound but, like, there it does sound like they've taken from the ref too. Um, yeah, I so, overall, what did you think of it?
It was okay. There were I will admit that the opening sequence made me laugh. The part where Santa vomits on that woman in that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nice sentimental moment. Is it
Uh-huh.
what it is? Like
She's like,
he flies
"Whoa,
away and she's all like, "Oh my god, it's," and
it's
she's
sick."
like it's the traditional sentimental moment in a
Uh-huh,
Christmas movie where you realize it's really Santa. Only
uh-huh.
he like leans
Project
over the side of the
yeah.
sleigh and vomits right on top of
Uh-huh.
her. And it
It
was
was
just
chunk it was weird
it
it looked
was
like
so gross.
maggoty or something in there, like, it was super
It
gross.
was so bad, but
Yeah.
it was hilarious
Uh-huh.
because I hate that moment. It's so cliche. Oh my god, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
really Santa.
Yeah, he
And like,
was a cool Santa, just,
well, I mean,
he
and the real thing about like, so partially the movie is about the fact that the married couple with the kid are suffering, like they're separated and their marriage isn't working out anymore, even though there's a kernel of love there. But
Mhm.
then, like, the real story in Violent Night is about the fact that Santa has kind of lost his faith in humanity,
Yeah.
and the movie is actually about him regaining his faith in humanity.
And that's through by way of John Leguizamo
Yeah.
coming in and holding the family hostage. They're a very rich family and holding them hostage to try to steal $300,000 in the basement safe or something. So
Yeah, there's like
Santa has
$3
to go.
million or something. It was
Is
a
it
lot of
million? I thought it
money.
was oh no, it's like 500,000. That's right. It's like half a
Yeah,
million.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But
yeah.
yeah, it was, and yeah, like John Leguizamo's character hates Christmas. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he keeps like calling himself like Mr. Scrooge and shit.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was fun. That one article that I saw last week that called it the chlamydia of Christmas
Oh, I
movies. It's
forgot
like
about
that's a
that.
little far. I would say
Yeah.
Black Christmas 2019 is
Oh
more
my
likely to
god.
be
Yeah,
the
we'll
fucking
get into
chlamydia.
that, but yeah, what did that should I get up that article? Chlamydia?
Yeah, I didn't read it.
Yeah,
I
Violent
just saw
Night,
that title and I was like, Jesus, that's
chlamydia.
harsh.
'Cause, like, why? I think it was a fun movie that, like, okay, well, writing, whatever stuff, there's criticisms to that there could be,
Had
but,
its
like
focus and not necessarily bad subplots or anything. Like,
mm-mm.
it wasn't like I wouldn't call it like a perfect movie or like one for the ages, but
Yeah.
it was enjoyable. It
Mhm.
was well done. Like I don't see how it was the chlamydia of fucking Christmas movies.
Right, no, I thought it was a fun movie. I'll say too that the website that we were initially going to use to watch it, everything that we watch it's totally legit and on the up and up. But it was not on there anymore today. It was there yesterday, and it wasn't there today, and I was just like, "Well, that's super lame." So I found it on a totally legit rando website, that had, like, annoying ads and stuff, and it kept saying, like, I don't remember, like, something about, like, slot machine ad, like, that just was in the
Oh
corner, but
yeah,
it'd, like,
yeah,
move
yeah.
around and then it
Oh
would
no,
pop
they
up.
did that on the version I watched
Oh,
too.
did it? Okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
was the audio wasn't that it was okay audio, but the video quality was pretty bad, and,
Yeah,
but it had French subtitles on it, and I was like, "I
I
like
noticed
the
that too.
idea of watching French subtitle or, like, any type of language subtitles on, like, an English-speaking video because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I can, like I know
Oh,
some French," so then I'm like, "Oh,
that's
this
how
is more
a lot of
fun."
people learn a
Yeah,
second
yeah,
language these days. It's like it's a natural way of trying to learn a second
and
language
just
is
to
to have English audio and then the second
and read the
language
words.
subtitles.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
it in the reverse when I do anime subtitles sometimes, so I'm listening to it so I can hear them say "Nani?" And then read the English subtitles, so I like that, but then it was fun to see, like, with French, though, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know that word. Oh, I know some of that." Like, I recognize it. And also the swear words are like, "Oh, that's how you say fucking in French,
The
huh?"
funny thing is though for me is that like it was like that was difficult for me because I rely on the subtitles because of my learning disability. So I was like, what the fuck are they saying?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah, especially when
like
the audio not being, like, perfect, though, so some of it
yeah.
was just like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Uh, Stevie J, it's okay, you can have crosstalk, I don't care. I'll just feel like you're ignoring me, though, but, um, the what was I going to say? Oh, I wanted to mention to, your friend Paul that I heard about you having JDA on your stream last night. He told me that he hopped in there with Paul and Juliet, so that they got to do some
It
live
was funny.
streaming.
I pulled PJ Party up because I had mentioned yesterday that I have pajamas on the way because I like pajamas
Oh,
like a
yeah.
lot.
Really?
And
Like
he
the ones that are
like
like a full outfit, like a shirt and
yes.
pants? Mm,
Yes, like
mm.
in with pockets. I
Wow.
want
While
I
you sleep, do
buy
you need pockets?
what?
While you sleep, do you need pockets, or this is just like,
No,
oh,
but
you
like I
change them
walk
in
around
the
my
evening
house and I
wear?
put my
Okay.
phone in there. Sometimes my inhaler if I need it or something,
Yeah, okay,
and
okay.
sometimes I put like a snack bar in there and bring it
Nice.
upstairs.
I would forget about it and then fall asleep with it in my pocket, and then it'll melt in there.
I did put a peppermint patty in my sweater pocket one time and then took a nap because I didn't feel well and forgot about that. I didn't have it in my pants pocket,
I've had
but
so
so
much
anyway,
candy and chocolate in my jackets in my lifetime that get stuck in there and I forget about them.
yeah. But like I had mentioned that I had pajamas on the way. And your friend Paul replied to that saying, "Oh, pajama party," like his PJ
Uh-huh.
party stream. And I pulled, and so I was like, pulled it up, and it said like 11 p.m. Eastern, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll come back to that. And then I think I fell asleep long before it started. I did click the plus button no on it. It's late for me. Um,
Yeah. I mean, and especially since you didn't get much sleep anyway, it's probably for the best. And I think
yeah.
their streams go on for like, I don't know, like 3, 4 hours, right? I've seen like parts of it, but I never watched a full stream. Winky says, give your girlfriend the gift of chlamydia this Christmas. Book a session with Slutty Vicky today. And Paul Graves, welcome. I don't know if we know you. You want gore? You want blood all over the damn place? It's horror you want? Then have you watched the movies Terrifier and Terrifier 2? I have not. I have heard of them.
For your
I think.
list, Beverly.
I know. Terrifier. 2016. Okay, yeah. Can't do it this month. Still Christmas time. That's all I'm watching. That, and I guess we've all still been doing Rick and Morty. But as Mo and I are going through that. Yeah, I heard you played piano. I'm envious that I didn't get to hear that. You need pockets in your pajamas in case you travel to astral plane and need some money or something. Better safe than sorry. That's fair. I mean, yeah, I would wear like whatever kind of sweatpants or kind of type things when I'm home if it's cold enough. Otherwise, I'm wearing shorts usually. And then when I go to sleep, I still do. I think you mentioned this when we were How I Met Your Father, when the one girl, what's her name, was wearing just that shirt and as like a dress though, and we thought that she was there.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's something I'd wear in college. Like, still do. That is how I like to sleep. It's just t-shirt and underwear. Like I don't like wearing anything else.
I've always been obsessed with pajama sets. Like, and I don't know. Like, even when I was a teenager, I was like, I would really like a nice set of pajama pants, and like, I think a full set. And like, sometime it was years ago, uh, me and someone walked into Soma Intimates, and it's like the prices were like, oh. So we walked right back out, and then I said, uh, if you wanted to get me an amazing present, you would get me pajamas from Soma Intimates. And then my friend turned us around and we went back into Soma Intimates, and I bought pajamas. Like that was my Christmas present from them. And like that's been a thing now. Like I every once in a while I buy pajamas, nice ones. Because they do eventually wear out, by the way. But like there's that Bert Kreischer joke.
How hard are you sleeping?
Well, so that's the thing. I have cats that get in on my chest and on my lap and like need claws out and stuff. And then like, just in the wash, things get fucked up after years.
Sure.
Nothing lasts. But then like, there's the Bert Kreischer joke where he says his wife wanted pajamas, so he got her 7 sets of pajamas, and everyone was all like, "Oh, like his dad was like, you fucking moron," when he realized he bought her 7 sets of pajamas, and I look over at my friend, and he says, "You would love that, wouldn't you?" And I was like, "Oh my god, you have no idea. That would be the best Christmas ever." I know that's so weird. I like being comfortable.
I mean, I love being comfortable too. Again, that's why I sleep in minimal. I like to have a lot of blanket. I just don't like. It took me a long time to even like long sleeves, though. I still am picky about that. So I like to have minimal clothing on, but lots of blankets so that I can, if it's cold out, I would rather have more blankets on than more clothes on. But and then also we talked about last week, I don't wear bras, so I definitely, especially if I have something that's loose like this, like I'm not gonna wear one. No, 1 per day. Whoops, what was I reading? Oh, Paul, you said something about making clips. JD also told me that I'm on your soundboard of your live streams. He said that the part where I said sometimes I'm retarded is on there. I'm retarded.
I love that.
So thank you. I don't think who was it? I think it was Chris who told me was that at one point that when Paul was on our stream, then he went and did his. He played the video that I wouldn't let him play of me doing the nerd thing. He played it on his stream.
Oh god.
I'm like, that's fine. You can watch it and play it wherever else. I just don't want to have to watch what I've done now. Like, I don't like it. That's hilarious. And Paul, I hate you.
You should clip that one. And
Yeah.
hate
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. With all kinds of stuff. That's a great sound drop. You're going to, or maybe you can pay in body parts and hopefully when you get where you're going before you cease to exist. Yeah. Anyway, I got off topic with French subtitles.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have like a lot of in-depth things for the film. Overall, it was just kind of like, here's a fun movie that I thought was well filmed. I thought like production value was pretty good. There were some editing parts that were bad. Like I think there was a scene, or was it where the girl was like the one bad girl was like killed the one guy, but he like turned her, like he was on the floor and then he turned around, but she was like standing like it seemed like it was gonna be like a crotch shot view, and he turns around and was supposed to just see her, but then when it edited it and cut away, like she was standing farther behind, like on around his torso area. So, and then I think there was somewhere like that a punch looked really fake or something though. So there were certain things that I was like, like yeah, that was a little noticeable, but overall I thought like it looked nice.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I felt like it was trying to homage previous Christmas movies. Like it was trying to reference them. Like I said that it cribbed from The Ref and everything, but it's also like Die Hard and I mean they bring up Scrooge a lot. Home Alone is
oh my gosh,
clearly referenced.
When the girl does the Home Alone stuff and just like kills those people, like this is fun.
Yeah, I know. Like that one guy like pulls that nail out and is looking at it, and then the bowling ball rolls and hits his hand, so the nail goes right into his forehead. And I was like, oh.
I thought it was going to go into his eye because for whatever reason he was holding it up in front of his eye. Like, I don't understand why he did that. Like, let me inspect this after a bunch of like bowling balls or whatever like were flying down at my face, and then it just hits him in the dead center in the forehead. Like, oh, that was worse. Part of it's worse in that like he dies, but like seeing stuff happen to people's eyes like that like freaks me out though, emotionally.
The thing is though is that like I think that moment is kind of talking about the fact that most of the things Kevin does in Home Alone and Home Alone 2 would be lethal.
Yeah.
But because the movie is for kids, it's not. And it's like, no.
Here's
those
the
kill people.
Version.
Yeah, it's the realistic version of Home Alone.
Which is why I also like Santa. Like he was real in the set, not just in being like he exists, but like real with the girl. And like when they're talking over the walkie-talkies though, and he's just kind of like, she wants her parents to get back together, and he's just kind of talking about like, hey, and I used to live like, thousands, like long before I was Santa, I used to be this guy who murdered a bunch of people, and so he was whatever warrior. Such with his, what was the name of his hammer? Crusher, whatever. I forget what it was.
I don't remember.
But whatever the name of his hammer was. So he was like a Viking warrior who killed people. So then he's just telling, I don't even know how old she's supposed to be, like 9 or something though. And like, man, this is already a lot for her to take in, being held hostage by a bunch of bad guys. And then now Santa's just getting real with her with like, hey, I wish I had the magic to like, I can't give your parents back together, but like, I love my wife and I've been together for 1100 years or whatever. So he's just kind of like,
well, and then the part, I did think it was like cute how he's all like, and I'm gonna shove it right up there, and then the girl says asses, and he's like, hey,
we're trying to keep you on the nice list. Like, you don't want to go on the
Yeah,
naughty
and
list.
then so then like later on, it's like, and shove it right up their anuses.
Yeah, because the conversation continues, and she's like, I say like butthole or like, but it's like, that's iffy, and like, oh, anus, like, well, that is the technical so that's I guess that's
Yeah,
yeah, and then she lets it go, and then later on she's anuses.
yeah, anuses. I thought that was cute. It was
Yeah,
cute. But then
yeah.
like the part where Santa first fights the first guy was enjoyable because he's like, no, I don't understand. Like I just want to do my job. Like and go on. Like he's and like he obviously doesn't think he's Santa. He thinks he's just like a guy playing Santa.
Mhm.
And like he's like beating up Santa, and then there's that point where Santa was like, you don't want to do this, and he keeps going, and then Santa like
Huh.
stands up, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he's a very big man. And it's like, oh, the fight is on.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of it that was very enjoyable and cute, and it was just a good, like, well done, like, homage Christmas film, honestly.
Yeah, and I felt like, if Die Hard is supposed to be like, oh, this is a Christmas film, everyone's favorite Christmas film, who doesn't like Christmas film? Like this one should be up there somewhere because this is a lot of action and a lot of like fighting and gore. And it's very, very Christmassy though, because it's
Yes.
Santa doing it all. So I
Yeah.
feel like if Die Hard is your favorite Christmas movie, you'd probably like Violent Night then.
That's why I say
Uh,
it's like Die Hard, the Santa Claus,
and the
and
rest.
the Ref. Like
Yeah.
those are the big ones that it's like really, trying to be like, and it's an interesting combination,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah.
Like it is something different. Like I like said, oh, you cribbed a little bit, but it's like, well, I think they're trying to play on all these favorite Christmas movies, and I think they did a good job.
I think so too.
Just not like, I wouldn't say it's again the best Christmas movie I've ever watched, but it's definitely enjoyable.
And what was I gonna say to that? Oh, I agree. I think that I will, yeah, like I wasn't being too critical of it because it was just kind of like, oh, here's a movie that it like took itself seriously and like the making of it and all this stuff, but it was like a fun movie that like they knew that this is kind of is a ridiculous plot, but they had like a lot of realistic aspects about it too. Like, and I
Mhm.
love Santa. Like he really like he's at the bar at the beginning and he just hates Christmas and he's just kind of giving up and he doesn't want to do this anymore. So that's his whole thing. And then he like gets the spirit of Christmas again by killing a bunch of guys to help protect this little girl and her family and all that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just a fun way to do it. Like, oh, that is um,
I will say
extreme.
this though. I was watching this movie and I was going, who is the mother? Like she looks familiar. And I looked it up and I'm like, that's Beverly D'Angelo. What happened to her face?
What did she used to look like?
Much prettier. I'll say
Yeah,
that
okay,
much.
yeah, like she did not. I didn't recognize her.
She's the National Lampoon Vacation movies
Oh, okay. It's been
mom,
so long since I've seen that, but
which I
really,
think is one of the
wow.
reasons why they hired her, is
Yeah,
because Christmas Vacation is like a really good Christmas movie.
yeah. Okay, okay, I see.
Yeah,
Um,
Botox.
yeah, which I was just talking about that the other day of how like Botox always makes people look older. The one that I want to watch, is the new Lindsay Lohan movie on whatever, Falling for Christmas. And I was like,
Mhm.
when I see her, I'm like, why does she look like she's in her like upper 40s? She's only like mid 30s, I think, though, but she looks old. But I think it's like I think the Botox and I mean, I'm sure drugs have affected it too, but like it's always Botox. Like it seems to work backwards. Like even if it like makes your face look less wrinkly or something, there's something about it that like the stretching fakeness, it looks old.
Well,
I don't know.
I think
Or
it makes you look bloated,
yeah.
and bloated does looks like sick.
Yeah, she has like the cheekbones. Or maybe also we're just used to like oh, someone who gets Botox is gonna be older because they're trying to look young, and so then I associate with it like, "Oh, you
Maybe.
must be," sorry, my brain's tricking me, but yeah, maybe it's a bloatedness or maybe she had some sort of cheek implants, I don't know, whatever it is, I just thought like, "Man, is she 50 now?" Or,
She's
uh,
50 now. And I
but
think she's only a year older than me.
yeah, I thought she was like 36-ish or something.
Yeah.
So but she was not looking great in that movie. Uh,
Oh
or
yeah,
hmm.
I did also want to say that the dad in Violent Night is translucent from The Boys.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, the guy who was walking around naked all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Really?
Yes, in the first few episodes.
Wow. Weird.
Botox is like a
Weird.
wax museum come to life.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's terrifying. Um,
We're fighting over who gets to
I
put that
know.
in.
Click, 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 click. What is that? Oh, that's the sand up on the stop. Click, click, click. I have Botox on my butt cheeks. They sag when you get to my age. Huh. What's your age and how many people are looking at like your butt directly? Just like even within pants? I don't have a
Just
butt.
do squats.
Yeah, I need to do more squats too because I've got nothing going on here. That's why it hurts to sit ever. My tailbone is always
Mm.
hurting. But it's like, oh,
I
you can take a cushion somewhere, but it doesn't matter. I can sit on something soft, and it's just like the act of sitting hurts my tailbone.
I broke my tailbone when I was a kid.
Yeah, does it
Um,
always hurt? Like maybe I did or something, and it never healed right.
it does not feel good. There's a big knot at the end of my spine,
Yeah.
because you can't. There's nothing you can do for it if you break your tailbone. By the way, it
So
just
maybe I'm
heals
just
broken.
hurt for it.
And uh, like the way it happened, it was I was playing cage ball in gym class. So like I was a kid, like I was in elementary school, and I was tiny, by the way. I was like 4'7", and everyone outweighed me by 60 pounds by that age. But like um me and this other girl were on opposite sides of the cage ball, and like we're like on our hands and feet in that like almost bridge pose, and we're kicking this ball. We kicked it at the exact same time. Now everyone outweighed me by a big amount. So when we both kicked it at the same time, I of course gave onto the gym floor, landed right on my tailbone. I had to go home. It hurt
Wow.
so bad.
Wow.
And like yeah, it never healed right because there's nothing they can do for it, and it does affect how I sit. Like I fucking hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's what I don't. Yeah, if I'm leaning back in a position forever, then it really hurts to like try and sit, like stand or do anything like moving. It just I either stay there forever or get in intense pain if I move. So 60, mental age 17. Feel that, Mr. Jonah. Feel that. John Leguizamo. Speaking of like what people look like and all that, I was looking him up because I forget why I clicked on his name, but I was surprised to see because I didn't know like he's got like Leguizamo, and I think I was curious to find out. Oh, because his name was Martinez or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, like he's Hispanic or something, and here, so I was looking up like what is his heritage then though? Like I always just assumed like Italian with or whatever with
Mm.
that, and then like oh he's like. I guess he always said like he like was part Italian, part like other things so too, what he thought. But when he got like a DNA test, it was just like, nope, you're like Puerto Rican and Cuban or something, or Colombian. It was like Colombian and Cuban, but it was just like fully those things and not any. And it was like whatever, or Spain and Europe and Colombia and something like that, where it was just like all Hispanic type of stuff.
I find that so weird that he was telling people he was Italian, because like I remember like just looking at him, hearing his name, I was like, well, you're Hispanic. Like there was in Italian, like that never like
I think
was even a thought.
I think he said it was Puerto Rican, Italian, and Lebanese was what he thought he had ancestry of. I guess apparently is what he has stated. And for me, I think I always just assumed he was Italian when he played Luigi Mario. When that is like how I first knew him. So then I think it was always
I
just
thought it
stuck in my
was
head that he's Italian of some sort.
I remember when that movie came out, like me and a bunch of other people were like, he's not Italian, he's Hispanic. Why is he playing Luigi Mario? And why is Bob Hoskins playing Mario Mario? Like, and then what is it? The Wedding Planner, with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh,
She's
okay.
supposed to be Italian. Her last name is Fieri. And it was
Really?
like, she's not Italian. It was like
I
so
think
weird.
they're close enough to just swap around, I guess. I don't know, because like Italians will have like sometimes darker skin and like they can guess they can blend in. I don't know. Um, what is it? Beverly, they make really anatomically comfy donut pillows for hemorrhoids. I know skinny but office workers that use those. Oh, yeah, I guess if it just keeps you from your butt hitting things, maybe that would work. And I would just have to carry it with me forever. Iberian Peninsula shows up on DNA tests for Spain. Interesting. Oh. Let me bring up this thing here. What do we have? Violent Night is the chlamydia of Christmas movies. The slapdash attempt to blend Die Hard, Home Alone, and Bad Santa ends up delivering nothing but ho ho holy shit.
That's
Bad,
so jaded.
yeah. What if Santa Claus wasn't the holly jolly fellow we know from a zillion Christmas cards, seasonal TV specials, and traumatic mall visits? What if he was now just a bitter old drunk, drowning his sorrows in bottomless pints and bitching about his annual delivery of presents to kids? But then one fateful Christmas Eve, when our man Kringle is loitering in a swanky mansion and dipping into some expensive brandy after dropping off gifts, a gang of criminals break into the place and hold the occupants hostage. A young girl who still believes in this sodden Saint Nick begs for his help, and finally, thanks to the healing power of a child's prayers and the help of a sturdy sledgehammer, Santa gets his groove back. Everyone debates whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie, so why not turn a Christmas movie into Die Hard? Yeah, okay. Why are you getting mad about that? Like, that's it. I think that plot is fun.
Yeah.
So what's he? We see all the risk of trying to figure out where he's. None of those things is violent, and most of it does take place after dusk. Lazy slapdash self-impressed excuse for edgy entertainment that makes you enraged. Yeah, this does seem like very jaded and nothing against. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is a very like I'm not sure why that person hates it so much, but I don't think you need to be that emotional about it.
No.
Because it was just like a fun film, so you don't like it, and it seemed like offended. That the article seemed like they were offended by this movie.
Yeah, like, God damn it, they made this Christmas movie.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Yeah,
Okay, don't watch it.
sorry.
Like, sometimes movie reviewers, and this is true of like anyone who reviews a specific amount, specific content, like they become jaded like really quickly because it's like, God damn it, I have to watch this movie and write a
Mhm.
review about it. Like putting the work element on it makes it no longer fun.
Yeah.
And and like I to some degree I get it because like I said I watched like 2 movies a day for more than a year, like, and I was starting to become like
Mhm.
bitter and jaded about it, so then I didn't watch a movie for a year. I was
Wow.
like, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I realized that I was making myself hate films. And I think that's what happens to a lot of critics is that whatever the thing they're supposed to critique is, they get so tired of it, and so they're as time goes on, uh, their metrics get higher and higher and higher until it's almost impossible to please them. And sometimes they end up being pleased by something that I'm like, why is this pleasing you? Like the people who react well to Fargo, I watched that movie.
I haven't.
I don't understand what everyone
Yeah.
loves about it.
Yeah, there's
Like,
certain movies that are just like, "Why is this such a big hit?" Like, I don't get it.
I know, like, and that's the thing is like, I'm not saying that anything against the Coen brothers. I just don't think that's their best title. In fact, I think it's middling at best, but that's apparently the one everyone says is so good And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I think The Big Lebowski or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is better than Fargo. Like, I don't know. I think Fargo is pretty meandering myself.
Really? Okay. I
Yeah.
need to add that. Terrifier 2, Fargo. Because they're, obviously there are always a bunch of big movies I still haven't seen because I rewatch all the terrible Christmas movies. So, and some of
Yeah.
them too are like, I don't know if looks like it's going to interest me, so I just skip them. That's how I feel about porn, says Mo. Oh, and that like you've watched so much of it, then you just get jaded from it all.
Well, and part of it is the element of having to judge it. You have to judge it as
I
a
judge
critic.
porn a lot too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mo is the porn critic. Raising Arizona. Have I seen that one? Yeah, but like I and I think when we're watching, especially I guess like depending on like if you're coming in like a lot of the unwoke people, they don't actually watch anything, but then they just jump into being critical of it though too. Like I get the idea, like you can criticize premises or like actor choices or something though, but that's why I like to like watch things as terrible as they might be. I'm like, well, let me give it a chance. Let me see for myself and actually know the details of it, and then be able to say like, yes, this sucked, or like
Yeah.
maybe it's not as bad as people thought it was going to be. But I mean, like we both suffered through Black Christmas, like that was so cringy. So, which we can move
Well, I
on
mean,
to.
I like the movies you suggest. Half the time I don't look up or know anything about them
Mhm.
like beforehand, which is actually a good thing because
Yeah.
a lot of people go into movies with preconceptions, and I actually wrote about that a lot for my channel. The idea that your preconceptions will have an effect on how you take in a movie, and that is extremely true for critics, because not only are critics like, oh, so and so wrote this movie, so and so directed this movie, oh, so and so is starring in this movie, and that will have an effect. It will. Like, you don't like Chris Pratt, you're not going to like a Chris Pratt movie, probably.
Who doesn't like Chris
But then,
Pratt?
like, uh, everyone tells you that the Coen brothers are brilliant, you're going to think anything they make is brilliant. And part of it has to do with in-group thinking, because you're writing and you want to, as a critic, and you want to be part of the in crowd. So like if everyone tells you
Mhm.
that the Coen brothers are amazing, Roger and Ebert say they're great, so you have to say they're great, because
Well,
otherwise you don't look like you fit in.
that's what like the virtue signaling and all that too. That's where like, oh, I have to say all these same things though too because everyone else is like, I need to fit in here and I need to like so, and then they believe it. They'll believe it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to wake up on the wrong side of history, so here's what I'm saying. And so that's not obviously that personality isn't exclusive to like those who are like woke or based or whatever.
No.
Though that's just like things that can happen to anyone in different
Well,
ways.
I think that happens a lot to critique. People who literally write critique
Hmm.
for a living, that happens so often. And that predates the culture war shit too. Where they feel like they, not only do they have to display taste to their in crowd of other critics, but they also have to display superiority to their readers. Like, and it's honestly, like, as having done the critic thing for a while, it kind of pisses me off. Like, that's one of the reasons why I was so uh like I have to not fall into this. I'm not trying to impress other critics. Like,
Mhm.
even other anti-woke critics, I won't try to impress them either. Like, you know, Heels vs. Babyface was like, Loki is horrible. And I'm like,
Oh,
I
right, right.
enjoy Loki. I thought it was good. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why
Like, I don't want to try to have that attitude affect how I
mhm,
take in a film. And that attitude is also about the genre that the film is written in. So like a fun,
mhm.
silly Christmas movie that you're not supposed to take that seriously, it's not comparable to Sophie's Choice.
You're right. Yeah,
It's not trying to be.
right. Yeah, which is why I'm glad we aren't worried about that when we're coming in to watch stuff too. And most, I'm so not critical of like I'm critical of like very specific things that like they pronounced a word this way and that really bothers me or something like that. Where but overall like I can like I'll just appreciate something for being like fun and or whatever, or just
Like,
or character choice. Like the big thing is just like the writing of a character choice. So like, why did they do that? Like that was stupid, but
yeah.
not necessarily like, oh, because they had some sort of wokeness about it. Like, yeah, like sometimes that can be very annoying and very in your face, Black Christmas. But
Yeah. Oh my
but
god.
you know, so I'm glad that
So
we can come in into it with just like, well, I'll give it a chance, and then and especially not knowing anything about most movies. The plus side is I don't know actors, I don't know directors, I don't pay attention to like any of it. So I usually go in blind of like I don't know anything. Like oh, and so many TV shows too. Like that person was on Murder She Wrote. It was a big thing where I'm like recognize you from Murder She Wrote. Everyone's been on Murder She Wrote at least one time.
like I used to do research about movies before I watched them, and I do know quite a bit like about directors and writers and their lexicon. Same thing with um, actors, but obviously I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge. And they produce so many movies now. The number of movies that come out every year is way more than it was even 20
Mhm.
years ago.
Yeah, you can't
It's
keep up with everything.
insane. Like, yeah, you can't. And but the thing is though is that like now I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. Not because I'm not interested, because that information still interests me, but because I'm like, I don't want to take the time anymore.
Mhm. And it gets difficult for me because I do have a filmmaking degree, and then so for someone, I'm like, "I don't know any of these things," because that part never interested. I really like the writing side of it, but I never really cared as much about the other things. So I liked the theater, acting, writing, directing side, myself, but I didn't really care to, like, learn everyone else's. I'm like, "No, I'd rather just do my own thing." I'm not paying attention to, like, who's doing other stuff though too. So it was just like, "Yeah, I have one, but, like, that doesn't mean I liked comedy and I liked writing," and then that was, like, the biggest and then, yeah, like, filming the stuff that I wrote, was why I got into that.
Well, it's actually kind of a problem for creators to pay too close attention to what
Mhm.
their contemporaries are doing within their medium, because
Yeah.
it can make you lose your own
It
voice.
influences them, like, whether they realize it or not, or they might feel the pressure, like peer pressure to kinda do something s but then it's like, "Oh, you're just everyone's doing the same thing now too." So
Mhm.
it does help
It's
to
actually
not
Yeah, it's actually better to look outside your own medium
Mhm.
for, your own entertainment if you are a creator, because otherwise you're just gonna, like, water down your own voice, and you're gonna start to want to, like you're either gonna look at yourself as, like, a loser, or you're going to, like, try to ape other people, and you really, really should not do that.
Mhm.
Whereas it's better if you feel inspired by people who you're not competing with.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah, because then, yeah, you feel more supported in that way, like, oh, or more inspired by it, for sure. Um, let me not Cheetos. Calling porn, I think I put this on earlier. I was gonna respond to it because I had this I made a speaking of making, like, videos and stuff before, when I was, like, 15, 16, my friend and I made this Cheetos commercial to, which I'll put in the chat, to what was it? It was like a contest or something to make a commercial for Cheetos, and, so so if you guys wanna check that out later, that's from, like, 2007. Do you like old school movies like film noir, classic movies from the 1950s and 60s? I haven't watched a ton. I'm really not this I think I will watch more movies now because of these streams, than I have beforehand. I'm more TV, and so I've watched Leave It to Beaver, I Love Lucy, Gilligan's Island, Get Smart. What else is there? So, like, everything from, like, the 50s and 60s, or at least a lot of it, because there are some that I have missed out on. What is it? Father Knows Best, all kinds of things, like, I had Beverly Hillbillies, I can keep Green Acres, did I say that one? Like, so I grew up watching all of those on, like, Nick at Night and TV Land. Um, so Paul Graves, there are only some I keep thinking about which one was it? It's a Lucille Ball movie, and Bob. Hope, I think it was. And I keep wanting to call it Happened One Night, but I don't think it was It Happened One Night. I think that was it. I
No,
think I'm
it
mixing up
happened one night predates that. It's the first rom-com.
34. Oh, okay. In which I think I was bothered by It Happened One Night because it did not happen in one night. I think there were multiple nights in that movie, if I
There
recall
is.
correctly. So I was really bothered by the title. But whatever.
Did you know that though, that it was the first rom-com?
I don't know if I think I probably did at one point and then forgot. I knew it was an earlier one, but I just couldn't remember how old the Lucille Ball one was because she was 40 when her show came out, so it's an earlier film. But I don't think I realized. Maybe I did. I probably knew at some point it was the first rom com. Where Black Christmas was like the first slasher. The original was the first slasher.
The 70s one, not the one we watched.
Yeah. Lucille Ball. Was it Bob Hope? Film. I'm just curious what it is now. But I was thinking about that. That had to have been like 50s or 60s movie. Exposed? Yeah. Oh, The Facts of Life. Yeah, The Facts of Life was the name, which was also a show I watched. I know that was in the 80s, but that was another show I grew up watching, The Facts of Life. Hi,
You
Eloise.
would like then Charade. Like I know, like it's the movie that I suggest like most people watch at some point is watch Charade. Whenever I get someone to watch it, they're like, "Wow, that movie was really good." And I'm like,
Charade.
and because it's Hitchcock meets romantic comedy.
Okay.
And Hitchcock did not make it, but it's clearly like within that kind of style, and it's very well done. I love that movie.
Yeah. I probably would like it.
Oh God, Mo.
What? Hunger Games was the first female lead action movie.
Because she said that.
Did she? Oh.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence said that this week. She did like a variety.
What? This week?
Yeah, this week. And she said, and like Hunger Games came out in 2011, and she said that she was like, people were telling her, no, there's no female led action movies. They'll never be successful. And it's like, you know, they made 2 Kill Bill movies. They made like 3 Alien movies with Ripley, and then there was Terminator. Like, what are you?
I mean, doesn't like
about?
Buffy count too? That was
yes,
a movie.
Buffy.
Like,
how about The Long Kiss Goodnight? That's a really good movie. Yeah, the Tomb Raider films. There's 2 of those with fucking Angelina Jolie. Like. She sounds so dumb saying that.
Played by men dragged.
Oh
Nice.
God!
Wow, I had no idea that happened. That is very, very entertaining. Of how stupid
It was so bad.
Well, that's embarrassing for her. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to Black Christmas then. We're talking about terrible things.
Going back in time.
And although later on we should do talk about 50s and 60s shows and stuff too. Yeah, we'll have to do shows and movies. Decades, do some decades times or something though.
Yes,
like,
we should definitely do that.
Oh yeah, we start like earliest thing. We can watch like the as early as it gets, and we'll just do decades.
We do all the way back to the Great Train Robbery.
Yeah. I saw that back in college, so I need to rewatch it. But yeah, actually, I really love that.
Is it A Journey to the Moon? The French filmmaker?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, is it called Journey to the Moon? Something to the Moon. I think it was Journey.
Yeah.
Trip. It was Trip.
Trip. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Trip or Journey, but yeah, his work was amazing. But yeah, let's talk about
Black Christmas, the 2019, 25th. Wait.
No, it was 2019.
2019. Okay, trying to have it in the title there. Krampus came out in 2015. I think it was 2019 film. So it's technically supposed to be from the original and then the 70s, whenever it was Black Christmas, which I don't think any movies need to be reboots of Black Christmas because it is known as being like the first slasher film, but because it was one that here's a random killer that's just killing sorority girls. How like there's so many movies that are just like here's a sorority and here's a serial killer. I don't, so that's why I disliked the original one, because I like having some sort of meaning and to like motivation behind it, and like why
Mhm.
they're attacking certain people. Like I prefer that. Otherwise, I'm just like, I'm bored. Like, okay, I get it. You're killing people and they're dying.
Well,
Cool.
it was a thing about the
Uh,
70s and 80s is that people were extremely afraid of random crime.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
So
why movies are about that at that
that
time.
makes sense. So, but then, so I'm bored by it though, because it's just, I don't know. I don't meet strangers. I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
either.
When I guess like I'm seeing a lot of the people now, like I already kind of know them around town. I'm in a small town now, and so like I did have to go to a mixer yesterday for like it was like a tri-county mixer or something, and that was. But I did talk to people who I knew, but it was just kind of like I have to mingle on 4 hours of sleep and later in the night. So I'm just like pretending to like, yeah, I'm paying attention and like I'm talking. But there was free tacos and cookies and things though, so that was it. And drinks. We got a couple of free drinks. Um, I got someone, the one girl, like she had tequila sunrise, and I was like, I don't know if I like it with tequila because I'm picky. I'll do tequila shots, but then I'm like, I don't want to taste it. So she's like, you can do rum, like have like coconut rum. That sounds amazing. So I did coconut rum sunrise. So it's coconut rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, I think some cherry juice in there though. I'm like, yeah, here's
I
my
can't have
fruity
that.
basic bitch drink. So
I had one of those when I was in college. It was a tequila sunrise, though. It was not a coconut rum sunrise. It was okay, but I can't. Half those ingredients are not
yeah,
allowed.
uh,
So,
shame. Pineapple is one of those.
yeah, not because of my IBS, but I have some weird reaction to tropical fruit
Oh, I
enzyme
remember. Okay,
called
that's right, that's right.
capsaicin.
That's so
So,
weird. I mean, but I've
like, I
seen you
can't
talk
even have
about
it touch my skin. It
my
hurts.
oh, wow. But that's
Yeah.
I've mentioned before too, my coworker at the Herald before when he came in with the pineapples, like, "Oh," and like, "Yeah, I think it made me sick last night though." I'm like, "Why did you bring it to work then to eat?" And then he ate it there and got sick and went home, and I had to do the entire paper myself. The
Oh
sports guy
god.
who was really sweet, but he was just filling in and he messed it up, the 2 pages he had to do, so I just had to start from scratch because it was just easier than having to fix what he did, so I did, like, "Here are 12 pages that I have to do in 4 hours of
Oh.
everything," so, because I had to paginate it all, but so, like, don't eat pineapple. Um, but, okay, so Black Christmas, it was so the original one was just, here's this random guy killing sororities. Black Christmas, it made me be like, "Man, I wish this had less of a plot of a reason why they're killing these girls because,
So, like, having a reason, if it's a stupid reason, is worse.
yeah, that's what I was kinda feeling, and I'm not sure, and I'm still, like, undecided because I was just like it ended up becoming supernatural too, so that's what I had to rewind because I was bored by it, and then there was, like, a chunk in there where I was definitely distracted and doing other things, and then when she started talking about, like, people being possessed, I was like, "Wait, what happened?" And so I rewound by, like, 20,
It
30
was
minutes.
jarring, wasn't it? There was not
Yeah,
enough, like, work done, like, for foreshadowing on that, so it's like,
yeah.
"Wait, what? Did and you made that leap too?"
Yeah. So
It
then but then
was
there was,
so
like, a couple
dumb.
quick scenes of, like, why is his blood why is it not blood colored or whatever, and I missed that though because I just wasn't paying close attention, and so there were a couple of times where I was, like, I had to rewatch them. I'm like, I still stopped paying attention though, like, I cannot focus on this movie.
Well, it's not a good movie. It's
No.
so and it's basically like a big fuck you the whole time. Like every scene is another fuck you kind
Yeah.
of scenario.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know about you, but I can't watch something that is basically telling me to go fuck myself every scene
A lot of
and
people
like
can't.
find it enjoyable.
That happened at Second I've talked about that too at Second City, that one of the shows was so preachy and talking about how, like, you're all racist like and not, like, in the most angry way, but enough that I saw the most walkouts in that in the audience for that show's run. But instead of, like, having any self-reflection, it was like, "Well, they're all racist people, they don't wanna hear," but, like, no, they just don't wanna be yelled at about as if they are. Um,
Didn't they come here to be entertained? Are you
yeah.
being entertaining?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, right? It's
Maybe they
really, I
don't find it
can't
entertaining.
figure out what's happening. Like, why this isn't
I
working
know.
out. Stevie J, it was not a mixer for dating. It'd be awkward. Is it awkward because of tacos? It was like a holiday party thing though for the different county people. Whatever. I don't even remember what it was called. In my phone calendar, I think I just wrote it in as what was it? Oh no, I think it was a chamber. It was like a chamber. I was thinking about the
Okay.
round table. There's like a business round table that was in the like once a month that I went to in the morning, and I just put business round table thing. Kind of,
Thing is
yeah,
actually in the
yeah. Like,
That's hilarious.
times, like I don't know what it is that I'm going to. I'm like, oh, I'll go see what it is and cover it. And like I record things and then I listen and write it later. But yeah. So it was just a chamber, the like local chambers in the area Christmas party. But I did network. I had to do like some networking, and we still didn't have business cards though. So it's just like, hey, let's exchange numbers. So I guess it's kind of like dating. I'll give you my phone number. But yeah, Carrie Elwes, is that how it's pronounced? Carrie Elwes. He was in it. I know he's like woke, but he's just gonna always be hot to me. I think I still love him. And everything. He was great in Psych. That is one of my favorite
Yes,
roles.
he's
So like that's
so good in Psych. That like the last
so
episode with him
suave and
is so good.
yeah, and I remember that you watched Psych, so like, yeah, you get it. But so I do love him, but he was, I don't know, like so this is a Blumhouse movie, and when I saw it was Blumhouse, I was like, oh no, because I know that I like some of the horror stuff they do, but they got really woke too, like they got very preachy and about feminism and stuff, and so I just really, unfortunately, James Roday directed one of the annoying films that had Mary from Psych. I don't remember the actor's name, but he played the character Mary in Psych, and he was in the film that James Roday of Psych
Oh, that's
directed.
Jesse Simpson. I
Jesse
love
Simpson.
him.
I love him too. I loved Mary. And then so I love both James Roday, or like, I love Sean Spencer and Mary from Psych. And they directed and starred in the one horror film of the Into the Dark by Blumhouse. And it was, I know it was just like a very feminist thing, and like how like, oh, he was a bad man though, because he was just like always like a douchey guy, and he had to learn how, like, well, he would say like there's two sides to every story, and so but the lesson was like, no, there's only the woman's side, like you don't get to say it. And I'm like, what a terrible lesson to learn. Like, no, like he's right about that. Like maybe he's a douchey person and like whatever, but like he's right. You should listen to both sides on things, then make a judgment on it. You can say like, oh, he's lying or he's awful, like I don't believe him, but at least hear it out. That's why we're at today, because people are only
Yeah.
listening to one side. And not even just like on a bigger thing, like we've experienced that more directly over the internet with certain people who were mentioned earlier in this in the comments. But yeah, it's just, I was like, I thought that was a terrible lesson to have in there, and so I was worried about this one when I saw it was Blumhouse, and I was right to worry because it was the same kind of preachy feminist stuff too, where it was just, and the guys, I don't know what, like they came out. It was hard as watching a movie though, because like the guys were genuinely like, I didn't like the main girl claimed that the guy had sexually assaulted her when she was like unconscious and drugged or something, and he throughout the entire time was very adamant that like he never did, like she was lying about it all, and that never happened. And even though they did flashbacks and kind of like watched her like see him in a daze and all that, I'm still not positive who was telling the truth, because like if she's just remembering what she thinks she remembers though, like maybe she was wrong. I know that they intended it for it to be true and he's just a liar, but like with this information, like I don't know though. Like I
Yeah.
don't want, and they talking about like false accusations and stuff too. The guys were saying we're tired of being falsely accused, and like, yeah, I kind of get, I get that they specifically with their cult and murdering everyone, all the girls there, like, yeah, they are bad people, but they did have some points in there about like, yeah, these accusations and stuff are happening.
The bullshit narrative that the movie takes, that oh, fraternities are evil, sororities are good. Like they literally are like, it's a sisterhood, it's positive. Fraternities are evil, brotherhoods are wrong. And I'm like, you cannot fucking play both sides of that. Like, no,
Yeah.
either they're both wrong or they're both neutral or they're both good. You can't fucking play this game.
I
Like,
can if they say that all men are bad, though.
yeah, really. Oh, that pissed me off so much. But then like, um, they have this idea of like internalized misogyny too. They play that fucking game because they like at one point they basically have Carrie Elwes quote Camille Paglia. And I remember listening to that quote, which I didn't know that quote, by the way. And I was like,
Which quote?
this sounds like a woman wrote it. Like as
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
listening
yeah, yeah.
to it, as I'm listening to him read it, I'm like, I think a woman wrote this. And then his point was is that you couldn't tell if a man or a woman wrote it. And I was like, I fucking could tell. I was so
Yeah.
unsurprised when it was Camille Paglia.
I don't remember that quote, but I was thinking how there was someone I was talking, like, it was in a online real life, though, about someone where we were like, we weren't sure if, like, "Oh, was this person a girl or a guy in the online chat?" And I was like, "I think just kinda how, like, they write stuff and, like, what they've like, even though they haven't said specifically one way or another, like, I have a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever." But it's just like, I think it's a girl, though, like, just kind of like how, like, the conversation goes and stuff with it, and I was right, but it's just like, yeah, like I think there are ways to know, like even if you're not necessarily talking about personal stuff, there is just certain ways
I
and like
mean, I
syntax
wouldn't
and
say
things.
it's 100%. Like,
No,
because there
no.
are people who like try to like read and decipher people's writing to decide things about the person, like their syntax
Mhm.
and stuff like that. They try to read into it to know to glean information about the writer, but
Yeah.
it's not accurate. Like,
It's
but
like profiling though, that so
yeah,
you're just getting like this is a likely case
it's
of what it is.
probabilistic.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily predictive, which I
Mhm.
am okay with that as long as you acknowledge that something is probabilistic versus predictive. It's
Because they have
totally
a big
fine.
thing on profiling. That was the whole, like, should you be allowed to do that or should you not? Like, as long as you're not I mean, like, I think it's an issue when they're like, "This is 100% it," like, now we're only going
Yes.
after a black person or whatever it is, like, no, if unless you have hard evidence, like, this is just a guide that you should use that, like, "Hey, this is, likely the scenario, but be open to, like, we might be wrong," which again, with science and everything, that's been an issue of like, "Hey,
Yeah.
maybe we're wrong about this." Uh
Yeah. Well, it's that arrogance of intelligence. Like
Mhm.
you know, I've gotten so many things right. This must mean that I get everything right.
Right,
So
and
I'm
maybe
going
the
to keep
fear of
getting
it
things right.
too, that, like, if you then you feel you have higher expectations, so, like, now I can't be wrong because people
Yeah.
expect it, so then you kinda have the fear of being wrong and, like, and believing that, like, you have to always be right now because, like, you have been.
So
So
then you become pushy over it
yeah.
and protective of your findings or your predictions or whatever. But yeah, like I like to some regard, I do think there is a difference between male and female writing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but not and that's culturally, you know, specific.
Yes.
That's one thing that is always true. Like you're whenever you're talking about things like that, it's culturally specific. So from the perspective of English speakers, there are certain ways that men and women do write differently. And the thing is though is that I just did pick up somehow that was like, I think he's like part of it is like a narrative thing from the perspective of the movie that I was like, I think he's trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be a woman.
Do you
Like,
remember
you
what the
know?
quote was or was about? Because I
It
don't
was
even
about the
remember.
fact that men built civilization and rose women up by raising themselves up.
Okay.
And she fucking literally said things like that all the time.
Yeah.
So like, you know, the idea that Camille Paglia wrote that. And also it wasn't actually 100% certain from the quote that the writer believed it themselves.
Yeah, and that's another thing too that people can't understand is that, like, sometimes you throw out ideas or something they might not agree with. I mean, like, playing devil's advocate, devil's avocado, a lot too,
Yeah.
where I'm just like, well, Because and that helps me, like, to see, like, am I wrong about this? So let me see, like, oh, what's another point? Like, what's the other side of it that I would argue if I were like, "Well, maybe do I believe this thing?" And then I'm like, "No, I still agree with this first one." But then that's hard for, like, even people I know too to, like, hear other sides of the Ginger gets mad sometimes when I'm just kind of like, he doesn't want me to, like, think of all these other things. He just wants me to agree with him on whatever stuff. But, I don't know, like, sometimes, like, yeah, I'm not saying I'm not arguing, I'm not agreeing with this other idea that I have. I'm just, it's like, here's a thought that's it's out there that, like, other people would have too, though. I'm like, well, let's just address it and then see. That way we know whether or not we're wrong. If civilization had been left in female hands, we would still be, oh, that's a different one. Okay, never mind. Trying to find her quote. But
The
yeah.
thing is, though, so like, they basically were, since they have like a man quote her and everything against, using it against the main character in the first act. They're basically saying that Camille Paglia is an internalized misogynist, which is how most critical social justice thinkers think about her. They do consider her like internalized misogynistic, which I think she's like one of the most egalitarian thinkers, like of the old guard, from the 80s and further. Like she does, like, she acknowledges realities, but like is still like, oh yeah, women, if they want to do things, but you got to realize there's consequences for the things you want to do. That's part of being in part of the world. And
Yeah,
like, so
it's
I
pretty
like
big.
her. Like, she's so much more rational than, and I do kind of consider her a feminist at the same time. I don't know, it's like really, she's in this weird spot, but she's pretty awesome.
I don't really know much about her though, but I'll believe everything you say, Alex. So fuck you implicitly, never doubting.
Oh, they like, okay, so like anti-woke egalitarian types love Camille Paglia. Like, they quote her.
I bet,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems likely. But and they even talk, so just like that interaction with the main character. I don't even remember. I don't know any of the names of anyone. I just know that main girl, I was like, she's British. I can tell it in her, the way she speaks, that there are certain words that are like, oh, she's like like kind of wavering on that American accent, and
Yeah,
her
she
teeth.
was.
And her name was like Imogen Poots or something, I think, when I looked it up though.
God, that couldn't be more British.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. Like her, she pooted. What a last name. But yeah, so it's like Imogen. I don't know how to pronounce Imogen. But so they said that interaction that they had. Someone else like, oh, you yelled the way that he yelled at you. Carrie Elwes, the professor, yelled at her, and I was like, is that what happened? I thought he was kind of like in a gotcha thing, though. I'm like, I'm trying to
Yeah.
be canceled. People are trying to fire me, but this is what happens when you just assume that like this was written by a guy, but it's not. I didn't think he was kind of like, I don't know, like kind of criticizing her for making that assumption, but I didn't think he was like yelling at her during it.
He
Um,
didn't, like, it was like he was being, I mean, like, he was being maybe a little bit aggressive, but not in a way that I felt was too far
that's not in a way that I
ever.
haven't seen like an instructor do that to students before too, or just like, hey, like,
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
wrong.
like, I kind of, if someone is more knowledgeable and smarter, like, I'm sorry, but I remember being like 18 to 24. I was a fucking idiot, and I was
Yeah.
like, and I'm not saying that in the regard that I'm dumber, that I was dumber back then, but there's this sense of like, I know the world, like, you need to be shown up a little bit at that age, and like shown that you don't know everything in the world. If you act like you do, well, then you're never gonna learn anything. And that's the real problem with that age. And so it's like, I kind of expect professors to show up their students a little bit, just to, like, when they're being like, I am so smart and I know everything about the world. That kind of
Mhm.
arrogance. I'm not even
Yeah.
necessarily
No,
talking about
shut it
if they're,
down.
yeah, you that arrogance does need to be shut down. And I'm not even saying that the student can't ever be right and the teacher is always right. That's not my point. My point is the attitude.
Mhm.
Um And like, because I feel like a lot of people never get out of that mindset. Like,
Yeah, and you should always like the teachers should also be willing to like, oh yeah, I was wrong about this. Like, so if they're always the ones that can, so just on all sides, just be
yeah,
open to like, oh, maybe I was wrong about it. And I get it. I mean, like I hate it. There are times when I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be wrong. And that anxiety of like, oh, I don't want to mess this up or be wrong about something or whatever, though. And so I understand not wanting it, but that's why I try and have to like check myself on things that or usually why I try not to say things until I know stuff for sure. Or if I do, I'm like, hey, like this is something I read, or like as far as I know, or something. So I do a lot of like I
yeah.
preface
There's like these
things.
qualifiers, like
Yeah.
you're not gonna be like 100%.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
because, like, I just never unless I, like, truly am, but then and then when I'm wrong about that, I'm like, "Man, this is upsetting." Like, the song I'm the what is it? "I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a" pretty sure a guy on the radio said that it was Alanis Morissette, and then that was stuck in my head forever, though, too, and then when I found out that it wasn't her I forget what the real woman's name, 'cause, like, they
Mhm.
sound similar, and so but, like, I was very, like, much I knew this, and so when I found out that it wasn't, I'm like, "My brain's broken." There are just certain things that, like, I can't, unlearn, like, when that's so set in this way, um,
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean,
also
like everyone out here thinks like that Chick-fil-A is owned by Mormons, but it's like owned by Southern Baptists.
mm,
To really like almost every teenager here goes through this
I
period
think
where
it's
they're like, it's owned
Mormons?
by
Oh.
Mormons, and then they like become adults and like you actually look shit up again,
I never knew
and
that
they're
it
like,
was
oh
the thought was that it's Mormons. I just always knew they're Christian, so I never knew what
yeah.
branch of it was, though. This is they're closed on Sunday. Meredith Brooks. I knew it started with an M. I just couldn't think of what it was, and that's why I didn't try saying anything because I wasn't sure.
You weren't sure.
I was gonna say like Michelle or something, but that sounds right. Also, I don't know if your friend Paul is still around, but I'll tell him later because I think he should clip the part where Alex said I was a fucking idiot. And now he can clip that from me because I just quoted it. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, see, and that's the thing is that like you need to remember that you're a human being infallible. If you act like you're morally and intellectually superior to everyone around you all the time, you're never going to learn anything new. You're going to have egg on your face every other fucking day. And it's
that's
like,
why
go ahead.
that's why I never try to like act cool in any way though. Like, like, oh, if I'm trying to even like walking confidently or something though, either which I understand you should be confident and stuff, but like usually I'm like, oh, if I'm trying to walk confidently, I'm gonna trip. I'm gonna fall and like embarrass myself in some ways. So it's like, nah, not gonna just not gonna try to like come across as anything. Um,
I think see that's the thing is that every like this is like a Buddhist thing and it's also something that Christians used to believe or like talk about a lot anyway was the idea of like everything in moderation. And that is true of confidence.
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
shouldn't be without confidence because then everyone will walk all over you and you
Mhm.
will be basically a foot soldier for any stupid idea that is out there. But you
Right.
also shouldn't have too much confidence because then you're an
And then
asshole
it's just gonna be
who talks
cocky. Yeah. When I think like
yeah,
cocky versus confident and yeah.
there's a middle ground wherein you're like you're secure enough to know that you can be wrong
Mhm.
and okay with the idea that you will be wrong, but also you have like a strong idea of what you believe. Like there's a middle spot there that most people I've seen people on like all sides of the political spectrum act like this, like the I'm absolutely certain, and they
Mhm.
and the rhetoric gets like really angry and mean and awful when people disagree with them, and then like there's the people who waffle like all the time, like I don't know, like neither of those is like not in an I don't know about this specific subject, but
Right,
about
'cause, like, I needed to
everything.
think about stuff yeah, because 'cause I'll do
Yeah,
that where I'm like, "I'm not sure about this," like, I'll have to think about how what my where my values lie on it, so, like, I don't wanna and again, like, I don't
yeah,
wanna have an opinion until I've, like, thought things through.
which is which is that's an okay idea, but it's when you're like that
Just with
100%
everything,
of the
like, I know, yeah. Because then you don't have any strong stances or like value. You haven't thought about your values enough to know where you should be standing on things. And then you probably will end up doing like on a shallow level and just kind of agree with whatever like the peer pressure will be. Because like, or even if you're like not hardly like believing it fully, you're just kind of like, I'll go along with it because they are, and I don't really care either way. Like I know, I definitely know people like that too. And it's just like, it's one thing to not pay attention to all the things going on. Like if you have your own life, that's fine. But if you're going to take a stance in one way, you need to learn what your values are and then figure that out. Or otherwise, you either stay fully where I'm like, I'm going to stay out of it. I don't want to participate. Or if you're going to step in any way, learn what's going on.
Yeah. Don't let people use you as like filler for their ideology without you fully knowing what you're backing.
Right.
Which is what a lot of insecure and like people who don't have that arrogance do. Arrogant people tend to be the banner holders for an ideology. But like, and I feel like we saw that in this movie. Like honestly, like the other friend, I don't remember any of the people's names.
She
the
was
one
like,
with the petition.
Who she was a black girl.
Yeah,
or
she
something,
was.
Some sort of brown. I think black. Hard to tell what they are. They're all diverse now.
Yeah. Ambiguously brown. That was a term I'd heard about casting, which I felt that way about the guy. Like,
yeah. What was he? I think he's part black. I would say maybe half black and half white. I don't know.
But like, yeah, she was so annoying because she was just so like absolutely, I'm morally superior. I can wield
to everyone, to her friends and
judgment.
stuff too. That she was just like, you did this thing wrong, or like, oh, I think like you're one of the girls or something, like a woman. And she corrected that. You're like, sorry, like you're a woman. Like, well, it was just, that just sounds so annoying to have to deal with and be friends with.
And also, like, there was that point where like they felt like they were being stalked, and they thought it was because of the prank they pulled on the fraternity, and the guy, the boyfriend of one of the sisters, was all like, "What did you expect?" And like he gets mad at them and starts talking about how like stupid they were, like, because here's the thing, like basically what he was saying, but then they wrote him so poorly in that moment. But what he was saying was, you poked a bear a bunch of times and then it turned around and fucking attacked you and you're fucking shocked. Like, and to some extent, he has a point. Like, if you, like, literally, they think these boys sexually assault women, and then they go into their fraternity and they accuse them of sexual assault during their party, and then they leave like, oh, that was so funny. And it's like, you think these boys commit crimes and against women specifically, and you don't think like throwing that in their face is not going to result in them retaliating. Like, I'm not saying you should shut up, but you should definitely be prepared for the idea of retaliation. Like, they're like fucking shocked.
Yeah, don't be surprised by it.
And that was the part that kind of pissed me off. It was like, now you guys do sound stupid.
Yeah, what was I going to say? I guess also just like the expectations too of like, are being surprised by the frat, like, oh, frat guys are douchey. Like, who would have expected that to happen though? Like, oh, we're hanging out at parties where like these guys might be. I was talking to the ginger about it, because he's like, like, have you ever been raped by? And I'm like, no, because like I didn't. Hey, there's one thing if it's just like random, like that one girl, that one woman or whatever, like in the New York subway or something, where the guy was like, so that sometimes random things happen. Like I do get that, and I get that there are specific situations of people, However, There are just also ways of preventing it, of like, don't put yourself in situations that like hanging out in like with terrible people though, and like, and that happens at parties like where you're going to be a lot of alcohol and like douchey guys that you know are going to be there.
When it's
There's
not,
always a risk, and so you at least
yeah.
need to be prepared for it. Like if you are going to go there, then be on alert. You need to be more careful
Yes.
about things.
But they don't see. I remember I've spent so many years with the college like atmosphere, and they won't tell these girls that they should probably use a buddy system. They should probably watch their alcohol intake. They should probably make sure that their drink is safe. That they should, not take drugs. They don't tell them anything about protecting themselves because this idea is that any amount of pragmatism for protecting yourself in a higher risk situation or not taking part in a high risk situation is victim blaming, which is bullshit. Like I grew up in a dangerous city. Pragmatism is just smart. Like being
Yeah.
prepared for the possibility of attack in a higher risk situation is just intelligent. It is not victim blaming. If someone breaks a law, they still broke a fucking law, and that's not your fault. But if you do things to mitigate the risk, you lower your chance of being a victim. And that is reasonable. But they don't teach girls this at colleges anymore. And frankly, they should teach boys too. But no one likes to act as though boys are at risk at all. And by the way, fraternities and sororities, I just don't like the Greek system. I don't think it should be gone. Like a lot of schools are trying to get rid of it or whatever, or trying to close down specific ones. I don't think that's an appropriate response to it at all. But I was not interested. I don't like, even if no one's committing a crime, I don't like the people, like the party atmosphere, the clickiness, all that kind of in attitude. Like I don't like that. Like
My
that's
school
not for
didn't even
me.
have it. It was a for-profit school that was like art school. That was more like technical stuff though. Like we did not have that at all. And I would not have wanted it either. I don't really like girls most of the
Yeah, I
time
know.
though. I was talking about you earlier to JDA this morning, and but I was just saying like, yeah, like usually, because he was saying like, he hangs out with girls more, and I'm like, yeah, I usually hang out with guys, but it was just like Juliet and Alex, like they're like few of the girls that I like enjoy talking to. And
I think girls that tend to hang out with guys more like girls who tend to hang out with guys more because
yeah,
we're more similar.
uh-huh,
But like
exactly.
vast majority of women I don't enjoy hanging out with. That's absolutely true. It's because they have different values than me, and that's like they're allowed to have those values. I'm not saying that they're wrong. It's just they're not mine, so I don't tend to enjoy spending time with them. And that's not a detriment to their personality or to mine. We just clash.
Mhm.
And that's just acknowledging reality there.
Yeah. I
But
mean, there are
like,
guys that I don't wanna hang out with either, like, there's just there's certain
yeah,
like, interests and stuff too, but it's just yeah, like, there's a lot of girls, like, if they're so girly, it's probably not gonna happen, like, I'm just not as interested in talking about a lot of the things that they
I'm
want, or
sure
like
they don't want to hang out with me either.
mhm,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like it's not like they're like, oh, she's a weird woman. And it's like, well, you're right about that. I am weird. Okay. Like we can agree to that. But like this, so to me, I was never like interested in the sorority and like or Greek life at all. But not all fraternities are rape houses. This is a scare tactic. A lot of it came out from the Jackie article in Rolling Stone, which was 100% disproven
Mm.
and very poorly written because the writer didn't ask anyone else any questions. Like, wow, that's really bad writing, I gotta say, especially with accusations of gang rape. I would think it would, be something you took seriously as a journalist, but that was like one of my first like really big things. I remember reading the Jackie article when it came out, and I was going, "Wow, this sounds really awful if it's true." And then like it comes out that all of it is bullshit. That Rolling
Wow.
Stone just like wanted this like exciting scaremongering story,
Yeah.
and And this girl, which this is a problem. Mythomania is a common problem among young women. Like it's a thing that like it's a problem, a psychological issue. Some of them have it, and victimhood can get you attention as a woman, especially. So they might lie about sexual assault and like acting as though mythomania doesn't exist and that it doesn't affect women and sexual assault accusations is just putting on blinders, like honestly. And I feel like that Jackie woman had mythomania because she lied about a bunch of other things too.
Okay, I never read. I don't. Yeah, I'm not familiar with.
It's terrible, by the way.
I imagine.
And like, yeah, there's this idea that fraternities are rape houses, and it's like not all of them. That like not all of them are even like like the most men, 95% of men are not criminals. And so that means that in all likelihood, the majority of fraternity members are not criminals either.
Yeah. Yeah, and also just in movies, like, of course, they're going to be exacerbated, like, here, like, the problems that, like, here, this is a stereotype of what they're gonna be like, and it just makes it worse when you get super feminist about it. So, the whole movie was just bad. I thought it was interesting in making it, like, supernatural. They had the bust of the founder of the college who apparently was into, like, dark sorcery stuff,
Yeah.
and then so he's just, like, bleeding black blood
Yeah.
from the statue, and then they're like, "And because the girls made us remove the statue, and they brought it inside the frat house, they found out that this guy had a secret, like, where did that come from? Like, how did you find that information from the statue?" And then I'll
If it was supernatural, they could have done more about it, like earlier. Like I felt like there was one scene in the first act, and then like they just really didn't build on it enough to make it feel like it was real at all. And I don't know, it was shoddy. That was the part
Mhm.
like it was like you could have actually done this and done it well, but you were really shoddy with it. And that was one of my problems is that it was just so it was like we had some very specific points that we wanted to make and we can't write a good movie to get there. Like they like rushed to the points they wanted to make because they were like on a crusade essentially in writing this movie. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
for it being so feminist, I thought it was fucking ironic that the at the end of the movie when the credits roll, it says in memory of Victor so and so. So I was like,
Oh, I didn't even notice
you're
that.
gonna memorialize a man
Man,
in
yeah, yeah.
this movie? That
Um,
was weird.
just to address chat, the one I hadn't read way like 20 minutes ago, I have implicit bias against people that invent voodoo black magic terms like internalized misogyny.
Yeah.
Johnny Boy, they will say that's blaming the victim, even though they are not victims yet, and their loved ones are trying to save them from becoming victims. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And then and also, like, it's not victim yeah, that makes yeah, I guess I'm just gonna repeat it, but, like, preventing yourself from becoming a victim, like, then you're not a victim, though, so it's not victim blaming anything when you're just trying to prepare for it. That reminds me of the CDC response to monkeypox. At no point did they recommend abstaining from the activity that spread it. Yeah. I like
Well, there
nymphomania, but I define it differently. How do you define it?
well, a lot of this stuff about not telling people exactly what they need to know to make the best decisions is about lying to yourself. So, like, for example, when they act as though women can have babies at any age,
Mhm.
and then women reach 50 and they can't have a kid and they're
Right.
upset.
Yeah, you and
Like,
I were just talking about that the other night off air, though, about, like,
yeah,
figuring out, like, yeah, maybe I might want one, but I know that I'm like, I really need to decide within, like, the next 4 years if I, change my
yeah,
mind, though, but then it's hard too, because like, sometimes you don't like, I get that, like, sometimes, like, emotionally, like, that doesn't happen for everyone until later, and then it's too late, so it's just kind of like, well, how will I feel in 5 years?
Yeah, you do. You have to play. It's a gamble. Like it is a gamble.
Mhm.
Like you have to figure it out. Like I never wanted kids, even when I was a kid. When I was one, I was like, I don't like you guys. Like I was surrounded by them, and I
I
don't
also
like them.
hate baby dolls and stuff too, like, they creep me out, so if the idea of having dolls is to, like, "Oh, it's a maternal instinct and stuff too," does that mean something that if I hate like, I hate baby dolls, so,
I remember one time recently I yelled at Missy. No one else was around. No one, like I wasn't on live stream or anything. Or she was doing something pissing me off like she always does. And I yelled at her and I said, "Why can't you be more like Lily? I love her more than you." And then I was like,
Good
"Oh
thing
my
I don't
god, I
have kids.
definitely shouldn't be a mother." I said this to a cat who can't understand me. If I said this to a kid, it'd scar them for life.
Yeah, like, I mentioned, like, to when I talk to kids too, though, like, it definitely scarred that 5-year-old. Even my dad always talks about me to other people that, like, he never mentioned to you, about you once. I did not know you existed until now. And, you know, he's 5. Stevie J says, "Alex, rape exists outside of the boundaries of time and space. If you regret a hookup a week later, then it counts as rape." That is true, Stevie J.
That
That
is
has
how they
been
act, yeah. Which I think is
happening.
bullshit.
Uh-huh, I was just talking about that the other day too, though, where it's just yeah, it's ridiculous to yeah, that's so upsetting that, like, that they take that as, like, accurate now, though, that, like, it count like,
Yeah.
that not just the usually women who express that, then everyone else is just like, "Yep, you're right. If you don't like it anymore, then" and that could happen years later even, so
Yeah. I know, and that's so unfair because it's like and it's also incredibly sexist against both sexes. This idea that if a woman regrets sex after the fact, then it's rape because it puts this onus of omniscience on men.
Mhm.
Like men are all powerful and all
Mhm.
knowing and everything, and it's like, well, that's really weird. And then it also puts this idea of infantilization on women, and I'm like, do you know how stupid you sound? Like so often feminist rhetoric these days actually infantilizes women, and it really drives me crazy. It drove me crazy 10 years ago when I was still in college, and I was like, I wrote about this idea that someone, like, because I spent all this time in college and they were always telling us about rape and shit, they were like constantly talking about it as if it happened every other fucking day,
Yeah.
and that like everyone you knew was gonna get raped. I honestly didn't meet a single woman in college who had been raped, like in college, and like that drove me crazy that they were fear mongering that much.
Uh-huh,
But
but you
like,
see commercials of that too, like 1 in 3 women will be, like, you know,
yeah, but the way
sexually
they define
assaulted.
it is also
Really?
expansive,
Mhm.
and like the whole idea of regretting sex.
Yeah, yeah.
But like one of them that they said was that drunk sex equals rape, and that was one that went around the college officially for a very long time, and I was
Wouldn't
like,
that go
that
both ways, though? So, like, a drunk
you would
guy
think.
if you're both drunk, then it's like, neither of you
Yeah, and like,
consented, and it
is he drunker than her?
yeah, like,
Or
how yeah.
and then also again, that means even if the man is drunk, you're putting more responsibility on him, which means you
Mhm.
consider him a more complete human being than she is.
Mhm.
That's what you're doing again. And also, another big thing, if a woman is that drunk and she has sex, versus if a woman is that drunk and she gets behind the wheel of a car and runs over a pedestrian, she is equally responsible for both actions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they won't admit that.
Yeah.
Also, people who are in a relationship for a very long time and are social drinkers, they will screw while drunk. Equally drunk, they will have sex.
Wait, let's say the
And
beginning part again.
I
The
said,
people who
people who've been in a relationship for a long time and are social drinkers,
oh,
they will screw while drunk. It's gonna
okay.
happen. And so this
Oh,
like tell a person in their 30s who's been married, and goes drinking with their spouse, that when they have sex when they're drunk that it's rape. They'll laugh you out of the
yeah.
room.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Duh. Mo says, "This is why I say to my wife, 'Quiet, honey, men are talking.'" I think JDA was saying that kinda on the stream earlier today too. He said so or maybe I made fun of myself. He told me to shut up, and I was like, "Just like a woman," whatever I was saying. So I made fun of myself. If you have sober relations and you are a serial killer. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
that's the thing, is that like guys in college have admitted that they've woken up to a woman having sex with them, which means she's raping them.
yeah, yeah. But then they don't
And
usually complain about it. They're
see, that's the thing, is that they have no one to complain to.
yeah.
No
Do you think
one's
they all
open to
dislike
the.
it? Or it seems like a lot of people would be like, "Oh,
See,
alright."
that's the problem, is that that's the attitude. The idea is that they enjoy it, but they didn't have
Yeah.
a chance to say yes or no. And
Mhm.
like, I've even heard a man, this is not a guy in college, who said he was in a long term relationship with a woman, living with her, woke up to her doing that, and he ended the relationship. Like he didn't feel comfortable sleeping in the same room
Yeah,
with her anymore.
yeah.
And so he had a ongoing consensual sexual relationship with this woman, but she raped him while he was
I don't
asleep.
understand wanting to do that either, though, like
I mean, like, unless you guys have had a conversation about the idea of waking someone up with sex,
do it
I
yeah.
don't I don't think
Yeah, I
you
guess
should
if
take
it
that
was
risk.
just to try to do it like, oh, because she thought it would be sexy or something, though, I just didn't know, like, is that a term of like, "Oh, this is, fun to do with just his penis involved though?" It's like, well, I don't know, like, you don't want anything else going on?
Well, and then another thing to consider is that, like, is he wearing a condom? Probably not. She's raping him. And then he has to consider STDs, her getting pregnant. If she gets pregnant, he has no control over
Mhm.
whether or not he becomes a parent, but he didn't take on that risk. He didn't consent to that risk. And that's part of the problem, is that like they act as though it's like no big deal. And it's like it's almost all the same problems that women face.
Yeah.
Only in a lot of states, women can go get an abortion if they get pregnant after a rape. But like men, they have no recourse in that regard.
Mhm.
And it's not illegal in most places. So like, and some men have like gone to LEOs to talk to them about it, and they've been laughed out of the police department. And that's not appropriate. Like if
Right.
a guy said he didn't consent to sex, it's rape. This like I don't know why this is even a debate, but for the longest time, feminists have argued that rape requires power, and they built it on that whole patriarchy idea. Now they started talking about consent more recently, like, oh, you have to consent. But by saying that, they opened it up to people going, wait a minute, doesn't that mean if a man doesn't consent that it's rape?
Do you
And
th and
go ahead.
I was gonna just ask, like, do you think that it's taken less just because do you think things would be different if women had the penises and men had the vaginas? That because, like, one like, okay, when you're inserting something, like, it'll be more, harmful to the body physically for a woman, when it happens, though, because of, like, if they're not prepared for it. So do you think that that physical act that, like or the potential damage that can be done is why that happens? Like, if those roles were reversed or if those genitals were reversed, would it be,
Well,
different?
the thing is about men in North America do not have a foreskin, which means that their penises are more open to harm from sex, by the
Mhm.
way, and damage. So that's like one thing to consider. But another, and the chafing and out and women can be violent when they rape men too. They could be hitting them or something, which is also a problem. But that's not like an actual. But I think the idea is that men are on average stronger than women, and men are supposedly more privileged than women.
Right.
And
So you
the
can't really
other,
dominate the this f fair
yeah, but
sex.
Yeah, that idea. But then also there's the idea that an erection is a form of consent, which is ridiculous.
Oh.
They don't say, like, if a woman orgasms during rape, feminists will argue until they're blue in the face
Mhm.
that that's not a sign of consent.
Yeah.
And they actually happen to be right about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And the same is true for men and their erections. It's
Right.
not consent. And
Yeah.
it's really frustrating to me, this idea that they have that, oh, this is fine. Like, the movie Slither has a made to penetrate rape in it.
Mm.
Not Slither, Super. That's the name of the movie. It's a James Gunn
Okay.
movie.
Oh, okay. Let me look at Super 2010. Oh, okay.
Stevie J, most rape is man on man because we don't define rape as a lack of consent during intercourse. So it is defined by penetration, which is not appropriate.
Wait, sorry.
Sorry, I was replying to Stevie J.
Oh, you were isn't most rape man on man? Is that true? What was your reply to which one?
That because legally it's defined as penetration and not by a lack of consent for intercourse.
Okay.
That's why, like, if you look at the FBI statistics on rape, they don't list made to penetrate rape in that section. They list it as sexual assault, if they even bother tracking it at all.
Okay.
So that's my problem with this, is that it's like, no, if it's about not saying yes to the sex, that's it. That's rape.
Yeah.
Like,
And you don't need
and
to
it
have
happens anyway.
Hello, Darko D13. Mo said you should see Louis C.K.'s old bit about rape, and then he sent me the video and said that we should play it. So, which bit? The whole thing I just started? Okay.
It is.
What other terrible things to defend? All right, rape. It's not good to rape people, right? It's not okay to rape people. But what about Jews? Oh my God, did I say that? That's fucking horrible. No. Here's my question. It's not okay to rape people, and I totally think that you shouldn't rape people, and I don't rape anybody. Anybody. But when does a person become a person? Like, if you rape a fetus at 3 weeks, it's not really rape, because it ain't a human yet. So fuck it.
Oh God.
Get right in the hole. Who gives a shit? I don't even think people would mind if you walked up and raped their fetuses. Sorry, it's not a kid yet. Don't worry about it. Enjoy, please. Don't rape me. But if you have some way to rape my embryo, have at it. No, I don't think that there's any good reason. You would have a reason to rape somebody. Like, say there's somebody you want to fuck them and they won't let you. Then what else are you supposed to do? What other recourse do you have? What, are you gonna not fuck them? That's absurd. I would have raped Hitler. Like, if I had a time machine, I think that the two things I would have done would have been to erase my daughter and raped Hitler, because I don't think it would have been enough to kill Hitler. I think if I raped him, he would have had no balls to do all the shit he did. He would have been just kind of depressed all the time and sitting on the floor of his shower crying with holding his knees and stuff like that. And a guy who does that can't have the focus to take over the world. So I think I would have done some. And also, I wanted to fuck Hitler, seriously. I seriously was attracted to him. I used to fantasize about his brush mustache sort of tickling my balls. I don't know how that would work logistically. He's there, but then he'd have to I guess if we were 69ing, then his mustache would tickle my balls, but then that wouldn't really be rape. 69, you can't rape people into a 69. Anyway, I gotta go. Thanks a lot.
Wow.
Oh my god. That was rough.
Wow. Well, thanks, Mo. FBI statistics are problematic because they record the race of the parties involved. Oh, we just hit the sidewalls of the First Amendment. I miss real stand-up comedy. Well, okay, we've already gone late, and we haven't even gotten to Krampus. I didn't even take notes on Krampus. I watched it like beforehand, so I don't have a ton to say on it anyway. I thought it was a fun film again too. I love Adam Scott, but the ending was.
The whole thing was so weird to me. Like,
yeah, it was.
The whole way.
It was
like
weird.
I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I just the whole time I was like that, and it was funny. I was in the middle of it. I paused it and went and talked to someone else, and I told him I was watching Krampus, and I was telling him who was in it and everything, and I was like, hey, Toni Collette's the mom, and he goes, man, Toni Collette does not have very good, record as playing moms in movies. Like, oh my god, that's so fucking true. It's Hereditary and The Sixth Sense. Krampus was a little rough.
I forgot about Sixth Sense. Oh yeah, but really, she's always the mom, and I don't know how I felt about Adam Scott and her as a couple. She just always looks old, like everyone's mom, I guess. Like even though she's doesn't look old, she could still like play Adam Scott's mom, and I'd buy it. I think I don't know, because he also just looks young all the time, and so I don't know. There's just something where I was like, I think he needs to have a much younger woman, and it like because it just looks jarring
like
if they have like
teenage
same
daughter
age. Yeah, and it's just weird for him to seem that old.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, cause she just has this like older woman face somehow, like a 40s woman. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then like, and he has this like not quite 30 face. He really does.
Yeah, he's just perpetually gonna be that forever.
Yeah.
No Stevie J. I mean, I'm always Stevie, but I still won't go to bed until like 2 a.m. But Alex is tired because she only slept for not very long, so that's fine.
I'm trying to think. Was there anything? Oh yeah, like the other thing was that the movie, the beginning of it, felt very Christmas.
It's her kids that are weird. That's true too.
Are weird. Kids. That's true. You're right.
What were you saying?
But then like this movie, the first act of it also reminded me of Christmas Vacation. Like family that hates each other, showing up together and everything. Yeah. Especially the fucking like hillbilly guy felt a lot like Cousin Eddie. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean they always have that too. Like the movie RV had like they weren't family, but they like when you meet like the Hicks and stuff throughout it. But then they also write them poorly. What was the line? Oh, it was the uncle. I forget the actor's name. He's a comedian that has been in everything, but he was making fun of Adam Scott, who's his brother-in-law. And for like he was in the Eagle Scouts, and he's just like, what do you guys do? Like, and he mocked it. Like Eagle Scouts, like like they're tougher. Like if anything, you think that it would like appreciate as like,
like Boy Scouts to Eagle Scouts to JRTC to the military, and ROTC to the military. That was a straight shot for decades. Like you went from like Boy Scouts to Eagle Scouts to you're in the military. Like that was a thing. Like so that was weird to me.
And those kids, they talked about like, oh, they're sad because like the Steelers lost or something. So that probably means they're around like the Pennsylvania area, like Western PA. Which means that like they didn't rate Hicks very well because like most likely a lot of them around here that they were probably in those types of things. So they're not going to mock Eagle Scouts most of the time because they're probably in them and they have like, oh yeah, you're learning survival stuff. You're learning all these other things. So it just seemed like it was someone who wrote it who wasn't actually part of who knew what like that character was like. So then you're writing it to make fun of them as like, or for them to make fun of Adam Scott's character, but like that was just bad writing though.
Badly done. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was just so strange to me that like I couldn't wrap my head around it and like really like follow it. Like it was just too weird, I guess. So like it's one of those movies where it's like I never know what's happening next and I'm very confused. I don't know what the rules are. I don't feel like the movie set up the tone correctly in the beginning. Like it just felt
Yeah.
awkward the whole way through. That was my sense though. But I am very tired.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, that's like I don't think I had a ton to say on it anyway, because like I said, there's 0 notes. I just kind of watched it. Like, yeah, this is weird, but like I liked it. It had fun stuff. The ending was kind of like what happened? Like, why did he keep them in the snow globes? Is that forever? Is he gonna let them out eventually? Like he spared them, but you didn't kill them, but you're not letting them out. So I didn't understand why Krampus took them in. Like, and what happens? Is it just Christmas forever in there? Like what's I really wanted to know what happens next in that part.
Yeah.
So, but
The whole it was all a dream. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah. And but when he woke up, I'm like, oh, the lighting here is just it's too bright. Like that, like this is like more of a dream. If something like this couldn't be like real forever. And
when he held the bell though at the end, and everyone was like, they felt something horrible. Like it was actually interesting for a moment. I was like,
yeah,
that was
they're
the
like
most interesting part of the
remembering
whole
or like
movie,
oh, it's
where
coming
they
back.
like they're like, I feel like something's wrong. Like something was almost really wrong. Like everyone did a really good job in that moment because no one said anything.
Yeah.
It was just all the actors just had to like show it in their face, and I felt like they all did a really good job, and that was weird because I was like, why is this the best moment in the movie?
Yeah. And Darko says no, it's a bad ending without making it too sad. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just kind of like, ugh, all right. And I forgot about it. I didn't remember that. Like I have seen this movie a few years ago, and I remembered some basic stuff, but I didn't remember the ending. So it was just like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But all right. Well, I think that's everything. I don't remember what genre are we doing next week. So comedy, horror. What was week 3? Oh, animated. So we'll find. Oh, are we gonna have to watch Polar Express?
Oh God, no! Not the creepy.
That's so terrifying.
It is. It's like it's very uncanny valley. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
disturbing.
so
I can't
uncanny
stand
valley. I always hated that movie, but I think I still watched it like every year when it's going up, and I hated it. All right. So if you have suggestions for animated Christmas films, that's right. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and that one's like 45 minutes.
Never seen it.
I know. That's what I mentioned it before, and you're surprised. So if we can find it, maybe that could be one of them. But I think, like I said, I think it's only like 45 minutes. So you guys can suggest in the comments or join my Discord, put stuff in there. Once again, Alex's channel. I need to put Discord over here, but and because I can't think of, I know I've watched many. I don't know if I want to go necessarily like classic of like the old school type of things. So maybe we can find something like newer Christmas animations. What
about the Grinch animated movie that came out a few years ago?
I just watched that. So yeah,
I've never seen
it for the first time just the other day. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Is it called How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
It's called Dr. Seuss's The Grinch.
Okay.
If that's the one that was the one that came out a few years ago, and
the computer animated one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I mean.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Steph. We're just wrapping up.
Yeah, we are.
But okay, so the Grinch. That's a good. I forgot. I couldn't even think of it, and I watched it within the last week. It was like one of the first ones for December. Yeah, sorry, Steph. You should join the Discord then, so you can keep up with
when we
videos and stuff. Yeah, I couldn't talk and post the link again at the same time.
Is Nightmare Before Christmas considered Christmassy? Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, it would be.
I
So we
love that
could
movie.
do that one too. Really? I think it's okay. It's not like it's another one of those things that were like Hocus Pocus. Everyone was super into that. Nightmare Before Christmas, everyone was super into that. I was like, it's fine. I liked it, but it didn't like grab me. But yeah, we can consider that one too. So okay, all right, we got some options. We'll forget to confirm something later on. We'll just go with the things that we suggested here. Like, yeah, that's all I can think of. So
Yeah.
usually dashing through the no, the Grinch is just misunderstood. Yeah. Kidnap the Santa Claus, beat him with a stick, bury him 1,000 years, and see what makes him tick. Okay.
That might be one of my favorite songs in the movie, and Korn did a version of it. It's very good.
And the Grinch, is that?
No, that song that Stevie J quoted is
Yeah.
from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, okay. See, I haven't seen that in years, so I didn't. Like, I'm like, I don't remember.
I
that
know the
in
music
Grinch.
really well.
Okay, yeah, I do not. So maybe as a refresher, because I probably won't watch it otherwise. Are you supposed to watch it? Yeah, it's a Christmas one. People watch it at Halloween, huh? But it's like a Christmas, so it should be more at Christmas. We should have watched that for like Christmas horror. That
Yeah,
would
that
have
would
been more
have
appropriate.
been
But it's
actually
okay. It's
more.
animated though, so
Yeah,
we
that's
did
true.
the action comedy for horror though. So then like we can have it. So yeah, we'll probably do that. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Alex, for toughing it out. Oh, you're super sleepy. We will be back tomorrow night at 10:30 Eastern. Hopefully, Juliet is planning on being back now too. We'll see. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll see what happens with her life. And I heard that there's like new Twitter stuff too. So that'll only be on Rumble. Sorry, Steph. But that is Rumble only. So if you haven't subscribed there, I'm just going to post the link to the thingy. Oh, okay. All right. Alex, you can pop off. I'll do credit stuff
Okay.
then. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Everyone.
Bye. Let's see. So yeah, we will be around tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. I should be Alex and Juliet and me. And I heard that like more Twitter files happened and some other stuff too. I don't know. We'll see if you guys posted stuff in the Discord. I haven't been paying attention to anything that's been going on. I'm busy figuring out what's going on around my town. So Steph, we'll see if you can make it to Rumble. And if only we had another way. Maybe we can have the Discord open. If you join our Discord and you respond in Discord, I'll have both things open, and then I'll just read your texts out loud so people can chat in the Rumble back to you. I'll just be the middleman for you. So or whatever DMs. So we can do it that way if you want to watch through Rumble. Or we need to just do this off air and figure out if there's a way to get Rumble to work for you. I forget who it was who said it earlier. Who was like, who said that Rumble did not play well for them, which I totally feel like my internet most of the time has not been, and it finally started working. I don't know if Rumble kind of figured some stuff out though, but I can finally actually watch not just videos. I think I can actually do some live streams now too. You're hitting the link, but you can't open it. It won't even open for you. Huh. That's I don't want to do it on YouTube because we're gonna get banned, and I want to leave this one as like not political newsy on the YouTube channel here. For the Discord. Let me make a new link. I've been giving an old link this whole time. I guess it's supposed to not ever cancel, but apparently it is. Hang on a sec. Oh, this one expires in 7 days. So try that one and let me know. Edit invite link. I'm going to do a never expires. It was not supposed to expire, so that's annoying. Okay. Wait. Did it even do a new one? Okay. Is that the new one? Yeah. Okay. Let me know if that works, Steph. And woohoo! All right. Nice. Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching again tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. That's 7:30 Pacific, 8:30 Mountain and 9:30 Central. We'll do some news talk, and I think that's it. I'm considering maybe doing solo streams on Saturdays because I learned that Monday and Tuesdays are not going to work for me. Wednesdays, I'm probably going to be too tired out from from cramming in writing news and stuff Monday through Wednesday. So I don't know, maybe Wednesdays, but then I'm thinking like if I do solo streams, they might end up being Saturdays instead. Absolutely. Yeah, because I would want Monday. We're moving D&D to Sunday, so we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. Everything is in the Discord, so join that and hang out. Thank you guys. So have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. I never uploaded the ending that I made for Occasional Levity. Can I switch over here? Yeah, switching that. Now I can play the outro. All right, bye.